Alrighty, hello everybody. Welcome to the stream. Let's see, what I'm doing today is I am going to be working on a little advertisement project I'm working on. It's going to be kind of like a little animation to advertise my Octane Master Course that I put out a little bit ago. If you're not sure about what that is, feel free to check the description of the video. I have links and stuff on that. It's a really big Octane training series that I highly recommend checking out. I've talked about it a lot in a lot of other streams, so I don't want to feel like I'm really hounding it too much. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on it. But basically, I got an update for that course, and I'm adding more X particle support. So I want to make an advertisement to kind of demonstrate that and kind of help show off that that addition to the course. Oh, we have a viewer in the channel. We got I'm really bad with names, so I'm probably gonna botch this up. But we have uh, Samantha. I'm just gonna go with your last name. I'm afraid I'm gonna botch up your first name, but thank you so much for joining the chat. Hi, how are you doing too? Thank you so much for joining. But what we got right here is basically I have this really cool. Oh, we also have NC17Z. Welcome. Hello to you too. We have this kind of particle kind of stuff coming out of the tree here, and they're surrounding this can. And I'm just simply taking an XP cover object and just having it surround this can in this way. And what I have back here, you're probably wondering what all this is this is a 3D scan of a tree that I got when I went to a park. And we have Darth Kenobi. I've recognized you from the comments. How you doing? Welcome to have you here too. Hello there to you too. Um, but basically, what the goal with this is, it's not a complete 3D scan. It's only partial, and that's because my goal is to have like this animation. We'll have the camera kind of low. We'll have like the soda can down here. It's going to kind of rise up into the air, and then it's going to be surrounded by all these little kind of glowing, transparent kind of sphere things here. And basically, that's going to kind of just float there as it just continuously gets morphed with more and more particles that just cover it up, and it'll just kind of fade out. It'll be a little quick kind of advertisement, nothing too big and special here. But I think the final effect should look pretty good. So let's go ahead and kick in Octane Render, and let's actually show you guys what I got going so far. Now, this needs a lot of work still. First thing, as soon as it boots up, we're going to actually double click that. Sometimes Octane will, there it goes. We'll just set this to path tracing. Sometimes it'll kind of bug out if you're using X particles, so it's going to act a little wonky. Sometimes you have to load it twice to get these particles to load in. But what I'm basically doing is I got this Octane Master Course soda can. Now this is just kind of representation. This soda can needs a lot of work. Normally it has water droplets on it and stuff, but I'm thinking of trying this time. So I might want to bring it into Substance Painter. I think I'm going to paint some grunge and some variation. I want this to look like an empty old soda can. It's kind of been thrown on the ground for a long time, but then it's lifted back up and kind of woken back up. These particles come kind of bring it back to life. And then here's, of course, the 3D scan tree in the background. It's looking pretty good. I'm kind of happy with that. Yeah, it's looking decent. There's a lot more work that needs to this. I think I might put some ferns and grass around this. We need some mushrooms. Which I think that's going to be what I'm going to do right now, actually. I think I want to just really bring some mushrooms. A bit upon, welcome back, man. Glad to have you in the chat. Hello to you, too. Glad to have you here. So the first thing I think I want to do is I'm going to stop this render, save it. I have some mushrooms under daily renders after dailies. I have a bunch of 3D scans from Quexel Mega Scans. Highly recommend them. They are friggin' amazing. I need for Dem Earth plugin, says Ilias. Sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. Oh, nice. Yeah, Dem Earth plugin is amazing. It's really, really great. I'd love to get that. Can you make a tutorial for jewelry product rendering? That is a really good question. Samantha. Sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. I'm just going to do the last name because I'm really afraid I'm going to botch up your first name because I'm really bad with pronouncing names. I could totally do tutorial for jewelry production rendering. Will this tutorial apply to Octane for Maya also? Darth Kenobi, will the Octane Master Course, I think that's what his question was, will it work? Will the techniques that are taught in the Octane Master Course apply to other programs such as Maya or 3ds Max? At the moment, is not designed for it. It's designed, the Octane Master Course is designed to work in Cinema 4D. The whole course is taught strictly in Cinema 4D's version of Octane Render. Now, this said, what the process that takes place, like using this and that and making different effectors like Octane Scatter, rendering particles and different effects like that, and the overall process and concept is the same. Because again, we're still using Octane, whether it's Maya, 3ds Max, Cinema 4D, or a standalone application. The process is still the same. We're still going to have specular materials. The specular materials still going to have the same functions inside of it, etc. But I'm afraid that the buttons will be the same, but where the buttons are going to be totally different. Because I've seen Octane in Maya, and they have an entire different layout. So when I'm like, okay, everybody, now what we're going to do is we're going to learn about the node editor. I open up a material and say, let's click node editor. For you guys in Maya, I'm afraid the node editor button is not going to be located like this. Your material location is going to be different. The Octane material is going to look different. When you open up the material, it's not going to have a node editor button to click like this. And I think the node editor itself actually looks different as well. So technically, yes, there's something you could learn from this course if you were an Octane Maya user, and it could be beneficial. But would it be beneficial enough to merit the purchase? That's something I can't really answer. I feel like it would be a frustrating experience, I imagine, trying to convert the Cinema 4D process over to Maya. But I mean, what I'd recommend is I have a bunch of free videos on the course's website that if you go to epicjcreations, or just click the link actually in the description, it'll take you to the site right here. If you scroll down to the bottom, it'll have an example of all the videos that are in the course, and there's some preview ones. So you got some of these overviews of it. And then if you go down low enough, we have the Gaussian spectrum node. There's another one, and we have another one way down at the bottom, how to save Octane Renders quick tip. Try checking out some of these free videos, and if they link up well with Maya and Cinema 4D, odds are the rest of the course will link up well too. But I definitely recommend trying out the free samples before you commit, because I want to make sure you guys get the best out of this course. So if this course isn't going to link over well to the software you're using, then I definitely don't want you guys buying this and having a bad experience with that. I want to make sure that this is the right purchase for you before you buy that. But now that we got that out of the way, oh, thanks for the info. No problem. Yeah, definitely happy to help out. Sorry, I got distracted. Back to jewelry rendering. I am totally down for making some videos for that. And on the Octane Master Course, I actually have planned, or I'm actually going to teach, it's a bonus video, and I actually teach how I rendered some diamonds in Octane Render. I think if you go to my website, scroll down, here we go. Here's some diamonds that I modeled and then rendered in Octane. Octane is amazing because it will support natively caustics if you do the physical render, and it will natively support dispersion, which is so important for jewelry rendering. Now, some of you might not know what dispersion is, but dispersion is basically the effect when you shine light through like a prism or like a diamond or like kind of like those little rainbow kind of making things, the little glass things that you shine through, and it'll actually make a rainbow. So dispersion is where pure white light is broken up into the different channels of the rainbow, and that is what you can see here is going on. I haven't textured this diamond to have rainbow in here. I haven't gone through and put a texture on it and faked this. This is all true dispersion. The light that is coming through, the pure white light, is being broken up and giving us this rainbow effect, which gives this jewelry this kind of punch and life to it. Now, of course, you can completely adjust and control the dispersion technique as you adjust it and have different effects with that. So you can have more or less of a rainbow effect, or you can completely kill it altogether and have none. Now, the real trick to getting good-looking jewelry in Octane, specifically, is it's very realistic and it's true to life. So if I go ahead and slap this diamond texture onto a round ball, it's not going to look very good. It's going to look pretty bad. And in fact, I have that file open. I could show it to you guys real quick. Yeah, I think I could do that real quick. I have, what would that be under? That's under dailies. It was way down here. It was back when I did daily render series. I was running like, every day for a year straight, so I got a lot of stuff in here. This is close. Here, this is the one here. I can't believe I actually found that. That was luck. But here's the diamond, and the key with getting this rendered correctly is notice that this is extremely low poly. Hey, Raid Zero, welcome, man. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you with us. But the key with rendering realistic, kind of like diamonds and jewelry in Octane, is making sure that your diamonds or your type of, specifically for diamonds. Now, for jewelry, we're not talking about diamonds. That's an entirely different effect. I'm thinking about paying for your lecture soon, but there is one question. When you pay, how long can you watch the lecture video? That is a very good question. Wonam, thank you very much for joining the stream. And to answer that for you is you can watch the videos forever. You buy it, you own it for life. The course will never expire. Think of the course as a physical product that never goes away. It's just online. So when you buy the course, it does not expire. This is not a subscription. It's not a license that's going to go away. You buy this course and you own it. You have access to the course on my site, on this my page right here, my teaching site, which I'm going to be making more courses in the future. And like if we go to preview, this will give you an example of what the course page will look like. You'll have access to 90 videos. It's over 30 hours of training right out of the gate. Plus, I'm going to give continuous updates for over a year after launch. So up to August 15th, 2019, I'm going to be adding and growing and expanding to the course. So it's not done yet. I have a lot more stuff I want to add to this course, a lot more changes and improvements, including full update and support for Octane Render 4.0. So once you buy this course, you keep it forever. It will never expire. Would you consider updating your course with the revision of 4.0 and recently announced version 2018 and 19? NC17Z, absolutely. I will totally. Oh, thank you. You just answered the question. Yep, that's, yeah, I forgot there is a delay on the stream. But yep, I will totally update the course. So when Octane version 4.0 comes out, say, for example, they totally gut the diffuse material and they redefine the entire process of it. I will go through and update these videos live. So when you come back in, you'll be like, oh, I'm going to learn about the diffuse video or the diffuse material. You click the diffuse material, automatically you'll be watching the video that is the most up-to-date one that's going to be showing you how to use the diffuse material in the latest version of Octane Render. So when Octane Render 4.0 comes out, and it's going to take a little bit. Like once it fully is supported, I'll start making videos for it. I'm going to pump them out as quick as I can. But the whole point is that you'll be able to go through and be like, oh, I want to learn about the diffuse material. When you click it, you'll automatically be able to watch the one that's fully supported in Octane 4.0. Now, for right now, the diffuse material is talking about just the 3.0, 3.5 version 08 or whichever the latest one is. But again, everything is going to be getting updates, so you'll always be on the top of your game and have the latest and greatest tutorials out available for whatever Octane is currently using. Which, speaking of Octane's latest launch, I am so freaking hyped for the new version of Octane. We're going to get noise reduction. Specifically, I'm really excited for is the built-in kind of volume type modeling effects and stuff that Octane is going to support. That has me really excited. Plus, I'm really hoping for an updated subsurface scattering system. Though that said, I am very happy with the current subsurface scattering system in Octane, which I teach under the advanced techniques area, which is really cool. Highly recommend checking that out. I feel like I have it down to a science. Like creating good subsurface scattering effects is just so much easier once you learn this technique and setup. I teach everything in like a B, C, or D process. So glad to hear you say that about the new revisions. Yeah, no problem. Like, I totally want to keep the course updated. Because when I was building the course, I realized that by the time it was done, it wouldn't be that long until the new Octane version 4.0 came out. Woonam, thank you so much. Good answer. I appreciate that. Upcoming RTX cards will support Octane. Yes, they will, Darth Kenobi. And that right there has me very excited. I'm very interested to see if the new NVIDIA RTX cards are actually going to support it. Like, or they will support it, but how much more are they going to benefit? Because the new RTX cards are designed for ray tracing in games. They're specifically optimized for ray tracing. And now that ray tracing is coming into games, we've all been using ray tracing for years, right? All of us Octane users have been doing this for quite some time. But now that we have graphic cards that are designed for it, how much faster are they going to perform? That is something that has me extremely excited, because if these cards are designed for it, I can imagine we're going to see a pretty large boost. But oh, 10 to 15% better apparently. Okay, that's not too bad. I was kind of hoping for a little bit more. Says Raid Zero says 10 to 15%, but that would be pretty cool. That's still a nice boost. It's very interesting. I've done some tests with I did a lot of comparisons actually between the a 980 Ti and a 1080 Ti. So just comparing those two versions. So you go from 980 Ti and then you jump up to a 1080 Ti. What's the performance difference? Now, technically, on Octane's website, we should see a performance addition. Oh, we got a question here. EJ's tuts and videos are worth it because he applies Octane to practical use, which is huge for me. That wants more practical 3D and rendering work. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. Epic J Creations. I thought you were talking about EJ because I saw EJ, but EJCs. That's my bad. Well, thank you so much, NC17Z. I appreciate that, man. Wow, I really appreciate that. I'm so glad to hear that you're appreciating the tutorials and that you found them helpful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Oh, before I forget, would it be okay if I use that, possibly, I do say this quite a lot, could I use that possible, the quote that you just used, possibly on my website? I've been trying to build a portfolio of just like different comments and stuff, kind of like reviews of what people have felt about my YouTube work and different things like that. So if it would be okay, I'd love to use that. Yeah, the projector was really cool a year or so ago. Yeah, that one. Oh, thank you so much, Raid Zero. I really enjoyed that. That was a fun one to make. NC, of course, absolutely. Well, awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It would definitely really appreciate being able to use that comment. And thank you so much for the kind words. Ali, I'm sorry, I'm going to pronounce your name wrong. Kuasir says, hi, how you doing, Ali? Welcome to the stream. Where did got myself off topic. Where was I? Oh, the test I did between a 980 Ti and a 1080 Ti. No, thank you for doing what you do. No, thank you. Oh, well, thank you, NC17. I really appreciate that. Well, no problem. I'm so happy that you guys find my tutorials helpful, especially you too, NC17Z. I'm so glad that you find the tutorials helpful and that they've been of use, because that's the main reason I make them, to wanna. I bump into things that frustrate me. I get stuck on. I'm like, how does this work? And I end up figuring it out. And I'm like, I'd love to share this information to help others kind of figure this out too. But it's interesting. The test I did between a 980 Ti and a 1080 Ti is according to Octane's benchmarks on its Octane, boy, I'm blanking. What's the name of their site? Octane Bench. The 1080 Ti should have a speed improvement over a 980 Ti by about 50%. Over that, actually. It's like 55%. In real-world experience, a 980 Ti versus a 1080 Ti in Octane Render on my system, when I was comparing both of them, and I tried them both in different PCI slots, both in the same slot, tons of different comparisons, multiple monitors plugged in, just one monitor plugged in. I got a little obsessive over doing different tests on that, so I spent quite some time. And interestingly enough, the best I could get is about 40% to 45% faster performance out of the 1080 Ti, which is still good. It's not quite as good as the Octane Bench set. Now, Octane Bench, again, you're not always going to get the same performance specs because it is an average. So that's acceptable. But that said, in the end, I found that the best bang for my buck about a year ago when I did the deal was a 980 Ti over the 1080 Ti, just because the performance it was giving versus cost at the time was a little bit better. I got a 980 Ti for about $350 back then, which was a pretty good deal. Interestingly enough, though, why Octane didn't use the film production? Why? I think what Darth Kenobi is asking is why isn't Octane used in film production? That is a good question, and I think that the reason for that is, and this is actually a very big topic that I've talked a lot about to different friends and stuff, is that Octane is not used in film production, in my opinion, because I don't think it's taught that well. So much teaching and education is out for Arnold Render and different render engines and stuff, the Cinema 4D render and Maya's render engine. And I mean, if you're talking super high-end film, I mean, you have like Pixar's RenderMan, and you have everybody has their own render engine for different stuff. So naturally, they're just going to want to use their own in-house system. But as far as like other systems, like why is Arnold used so much heavier than Octane? And Arnold does have some benefits over Octane as far as like production workflows and multipass systems, but that gap is closing quite rapidly, and Octane is just freaking so much faster than Arnold, it's not even funny. So the real question is, what about those studios that don't have to have all these extra bells and whistles that Arnold has, that quite honestly, there's not even that many more bells and whistles that Arnold has over Octane. That gap is closing very quickly right now. But why isn't Octane used more? And for me, I really believe that just simply because Octane is not that well documented and taught out there. So a lot of people who run into issues simply just come to the conclusion that Octane Render is incapable of doing this effect, and they bail on it. Like, for example, oh, I'd like to use some subsurface scattering in my Octane workflow. I need to do that for the movie that I'm producing, and I need to be able to have a render engine that can handle this. They watch a few tutorials on it, think that Octane's incapable of doing it, and bail on it. And just like, well, Octane can't do it because they don't have very good documentation on it. The truth is, Octane is extremely powerful, very flexible, and definitely capable of producing a lot of high-quality cinema Hollywood results. But the main problem is just I don't think there's not many people out there that have it documented to the point where it could be used for that. And that's exactly why I actually made the Octane Master Course, because I really feel that after you go through this course, especially after I have it complete within a year from now, it will totally have everything you need to get yourself production ready. And I really am hoping, especially with Octane version 4.0 coming out right now, that it will basically really start pushing towards big full-fledged studios. But I'm getting kind of on a ramble. Oh, there's some questions. From what I've heard from many people is that it's used a lot in Hollywood, which I understand isn't any longer the movie industry anymore. However, I've been told it is used a lot there. That is a very good point, NC17Z. The Octane Render is popping up a lot more, and I totally think that's because of just like the great community Octane has and how so many more tutorials have been putting out. Plus, Octane is really starting to really improve itself, especially with this new Octane version 4.0 out, plus the updates coming out for it in 2019. Like, it's going to be amazing. Like, they're having some super high production ready results, plus their noise reduction system is really freaking good, just increasing the speed that much further. I think once people wrap their heads around the render token and what the cryptocurrency is and how it's used to render huge projects, it will be a front runner. NC17Z, I totally agree with you. That is going to be a huge, huge topic that is just going to massively boost Octane. I think at a huge scale. Which on top of that, I actually am going to have some courses in the series going to be talking about render token once it fully comes out. Right now, it's still in beta. Only certain people are allowed in. But as soon as render token goes live, I want to put out some tutorials saying, if you're rendering with Octane and Cinema 4D, how do I use render token? How do I buy into it? And I'm going to totally show all about render token and using it with Cinema 4D and Octane Render. Now, it's not going to be complete coverage of render token. It's going to be focused on from a user's perspective that uses it with Octane Render and Cinema 4D. Now, if it's somebody uses it in Maya's perspective or just a standalone program, it's not going to cover into that extent, but it'll be focused more for that perspective. But the main thing is if you are a Cinema 4D user who uses Octane, that will totally benefit you if you're interested in render token. At Ali Quasar, check the description and you'll check the website link there. Oh, sorry, Ali. I'm sorry. I think I must have missed your comment. Thank you, Bitapon, for pointing that out. Yes, if you check the description of the video, you'll find the link to the Octane Master Course there. Or you can go to epicjcreations.com, and then you can just click Octane Master Course. That'll also take you there. Let's see. I think I'm caught up. Ali says thank you. No problem, says Bitapon. Thank you guys for helping each other out. I really appreciate that. That was nice, you Bitapon. Good work there, man. I appreciate that. But I do tend to ramble a lot, so sorry I had in time for that. Where was I? Oh, I'm so sorry. I was talking about rendering diamonds. I got completely sidetracked. Um, the diamond rendering, rendering like diamonds and different things like that, is so important to actually have like low res geometry. And not like super cheap geometry, but it's important to have very hard edges. Now, for these particular diamonds, what I ended up doing for them is I put a bevel deformer on them, but I just beveled a tiny, tiny bit. Now, if I take this bevel deformer and turn it off, we still have a really good looking diamond in my opinion. We have some hard edges. Now, what I don't like about these edges, they are a little too hard. So what I like to do is I like to apply a bevel deformer to it, just a little bit. I'm talking an offset of 0.2 centimeters and a subdivision of 1. I still want hard edges. And this just gives this really nice kind of hard-edged cut vibe to it. And actually, I might drop this down to 0.1. Yeah, 0.1, that's close. Maybe 0.15. Yeah, 0.15, that's what I'm kind of feeling. You really want some nice hard edges on your diamonds, and that will kind of really bring them to life. Now, of course, anytime you're doing all this type of light calculation in your scene, the real key is making sure you have your render settings optimized. Actually, before I get into that, I want to mention the material I'm using. What do I have set up in this material? It's really not that complex. I just have, ignore this actually. This was something I was attempting. It's super simple. All it literally is a specular material with a little bit of roughness. And I'm talking a very, very little bit. Because again, we're talking about a diamond. We want this really nice, pure diamond with the light's coming right through it. I have a roughness of 0.0005, so very small amount. My reflections are just default, cranked up with the float texture. Anisotrophies, left normal, no film width. My film index, I looked up the film index for not film index, the index value, leaf film index at this default of 1.45. I looked up the index value of a diamond, and that's very important. My index value is 2.419. This is the exact index value for the type of diamond that I'm making. So it's very important that you look up the scientifically correct index of refraction for that diamond. But then on top of that, I have dispersion, and this is another important feature. I looked up the exact level of dispersion I should have for these diamonds. So my dispersion right here is 0.044, and this is the perfect amount, scientifically correct level of dispersion for the diamond to break up the pure white light and break it up into rainbows. So this is a very important value to make sure that you get right. Now, to get the color for my diamond, literally all I had to do is I just simply went down to transmission, and I pumped in a little bit of color. Now, for my transmission, I left this at pure white. That's actually not how I did it. You could do it with transmission, which I actually tried. That's actually wrong. I did try transmission, but I felt it a little unrealistic because I didn't want the diamond to be purely red or purely pink, like perfectly everywhere. I wanted it to kind of absorb down. It was an artistic choice that I kind of wanted to make. So in this particular instance, I'm actually going to make this pure white, just so we have a little less effect on that. And what I actually did is I used an RGB spectrum, set it to pure red, hopped in a scattering medium, set my density at like 0.2, volume step length of 0.5. Really doesn't matter. You can set this to whatever. It has no effect when you're doing like subsurface scattering effects. Out of OCD purpose, though, I will set that to 0.5 just because I really like to have nice, clean numbers set up in there. And then literally I just put some scattering in, and I put some seriously low amount of scattering because this is a diamond. I did want a little bit, just a little bit of the light going through the diamond, just have a little bit of variation being bounced around, but not too much. So I put this to 0.01. So typically my workflow is simply start the roughness, get all that index value and stuff set up like we did, but then literally you just end with a scattering medium node, setting your color, scrubbing your absorption color until it's absorbed to the density you want, and then from that point on, just simply add a tiny, tiny bit of float, and you're basically good to go. It's really not that hard of a texture to kind of put together. But again, your geometry means everything. If I were to throw this same material on a sphere, we're not going to get anything. This looks actually good because there's a diamond inside it. But if there's no diamond inside it, and we just have like just a plain round sphere, It's not looking, it's looking interesting, but it sure does not look like a diamond. It looks like just some glass ball. So if you want a diamond-like effect, it's very important to make sure you have those very distinct kind of hard edges modeled. So if I make this a low poly sphere, we do something kind of like, I don't know, maybe do something like this. This gives us something much closer to that diamond type of look. So again, that's a very important effect. And it's also important to disable your Phong tag. So we're just going to get rid of, or actually we want angle limit on, and we'll set this to like 90. Or actually I think like 10 degrees. Yeah, we want nice hard edges, so like 10 degrees. Easy way of actually disabling that is within the texture, go down to common and uncheck smooth. That will disable the Phong tag entirely, so you don't even have to bother. Like this could be on no angle limit, and it could be perfectly smooth here. But in Octane, we're not even bothering with that. We have totally disabled that, so we don't have to worry about it. But I am getting really kind of off track, so I'm gonna go back to what I was doing. We'll go ahead and close this down. Sorry about that, guys. I'm really bad at getting off on different rants and stuff. So anyway, back to the advertisement video. What was I doing? I was making, oh, I needed mushrooms. Yep. So mushrooms, where would I put those? I have them from the Quexel Megascan download, but I actually did a really nice edit of those mushrooms in here somewhere. Where would they be? I did a really nice scene that had some good mushrooms. I spent like 30 minutes setting up a really nice texture with them. This is a bottle that I still need to finish. It's not this one. It's this really nice kind of scene with like a bunch of vegetation. It's a really pretty scene. That's the Master Course. That's 50. Boy, where would I have stuck those? It was 35. No, that was the T-Rex one. That was a great one. 34. I need to actually do a much better naming scheme. For Substance Painter, this could be it. Substance Textures. This is very tempting. I'm pretty sure this is it. Yeah, I'm pretty certain. No, this is actually some other random thing. I'm going to have a car driving through this scene. So this one isn't it. I wonder where I stuck those. See, that's the important thing of making sure you have organizational systems set up. Boy, wonder where I could have put those mushrooms. I'm pretty sure they're probably under my, well, I do know they're here. I wanted to have the nicer ones, but this will work. I'll kind of show you guys a little bit of the process of setting up a good mushroom from Megascans. So I think I should have a really, I know exactly where I'll have some good ones. Or actually, no, I wouldn't because I didn't get those models yet till then. Boy, where would I have stuck those? They've got to be somewhere under here. 41. It could be 41, actually. Let me check. 40. Oh, 41. You're wondering about that render. This is an interesting render. This is a render where I was messing around with the triplanar projection node inside of Octane Render, where you can take a texture. This is a wood texture I got from somewhere. I just got an image, and then I turned it into, like I got the full bump map and stuff out of it. And basically, or oops, this is a bit upon, maybe that's not what you meant. But it was an interesting render. Doing like, I used the X Particles VDB volume, and I literally just started cropping things in and out and created this really interesting effect. It's amazing what you can do with this. But I'm getting off on a ramble again. Boy, this is tricky. I had this beautiful grass scene set up. Oh, I'm an idiot. It's right in front of my face. This is a heads up for a really big project I'm working on that is nowhere near done. How did you make this tree, asked Allie? That is a really good question. The way I made the tree, I'm going to hop back over to that scene real quick for you, is this was 3D scanned. So this tree was actually, I went to a park, and I used the camera on my phone and took a bunch of pictures of this tree. And I can actually walk you through that. This isn't technically, what's it under? Videos, projects, for fun, 3D scanning. Was it Tree 3? School wall. No, it's Tree 3. Pretty sure. Yes, this was Tree 3. I use a program called Agisoft Photoscan. You can get this for $135, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 135 bucks. And I went through and took a bunch of pictures of this tree. What happens when I did that is I get this right here. It's called my base point model. And what I do with these base points, and these are the photos that I loaded in. We can see here's one picture I took of it. Here's another. And these are just all the different photos that I took of these different things here. And what happens is I take all those photos from different angles. I take them from a bunch of different angles of this tree. It takes those photos and it creates a bunch of points out of them. After it does that, what it does is I create a dense point cloud out of that, and that creates a bunch of little dots that are made up of color based off of that image. And then you can see here's all those little dots, and we have quite a bit of them. And then what I can do is I can actually turn that into a mesh. Now this mesh will go through and mesh all those points. And now what's even more powerful is we can take the images that were used to scan this tree and we can actually project that onto the mesh. And that, once it loads in, this is an 8K texture, so it's going to be a little heavy, but boom, once that happens, we have this tree right here. Now, this is extremely realistic looking, as you guys can tell, because it's literally based off of a real tree and a real tree's textures. So the color, the shading, and the shape all match perfectly to give you something that's really realistic. Now, the more pictures you take, the better. I didn't really take as many as I could have with this one. And if there's spots where the picture doesn't fully get everything, you're going to get some errors. And you can see here some meshing and texture errors here. But for the particular scene that I'm using, and from the distance that I'm using it from, this is going to work pretty good for me. I'm going to be using, I think, yeah, I'm going to be kind of rendering from over here. So the camera is going to be kind of down. It's going to kind of pan up and go up to the soda can as a bunch of particles come out. I like this little break in the bark right here, which is going to work really good. But I'm not going to spend too much time on this. But again, 3D scanning is friggin' amazing. I definitely want to put some more stuff out on that, and I actually plan on possibly doing a video on the 3D scanning process and my workflow on that, because there's some freaking crazy stuff that you can do with the 3D scanning workflow using Agisoft Photoscan. Not to mention actually making textures, which is another thing I'm working on, but that's a really big topic. So anyway, back to the mushrooms. They are located in, if I go to Window, I go over to Night. This is a project that I'm working on that is going to be an advertisement as well for something else. I'm not sure what. I'm messing around with mocap animations and blend spaces. So basically, this is a night that I got from Adobe. Is it difficult to make, says Allie. I don't really think 3D scanning is that difficult. I think it's pretty simple as long as you do the process correctly. Because for the tree, the only actual work I had to do was taking pictures in real life. I just went around and took multiple pictures, I think 40 pictures from 40 different angles, and then I loaded those pictures into the 3D scanning program, which is Agisoft Photoscan for me, and then I literally just went through the workflow process. I literally clicked Load in Photos. Then what I did is I clicked Build Dense Point Cloud, and then I clicked Build Mesh, and then I clicked Generate Texture. So literally, I didn't actually do that much work. All I did was click like 4 buttons and just waited. The real cost to 3D scanning is that it's very time consuming. This tree took overnight to actually do, so it took about 12 hours to complete. So that was 12 hours spent getting this whole thing processed out. But that said, for me, it felt like it was worth it because I was in bed sleeping anyway, so I didn't have to do any work, and I got this really beautiful tree model. This same 3D scanning process is the same thing they do to create these super highly realistic 3D scans here. Like this tree right here was scanned by a company called Quexel Megascans. So Quexel went through and scanned this tree here to give you that type of effect. But here is those mushrooms that I was talking about. And I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a little sneak peek. I'm going to go ahead and hit render. And this is a really cool scene. It's been done for a little bit. It needs a little work, quite honestly. It's not quite finished. It's like I have projects that I just kind of sit on. Like I just kind of let kind of run for a while. That's the biggest thing is like just to start every day, just pop in and make something. You don't have to finish it. Like just make something, come back to it. If you get stuck, just kind of let it sit. Don't feel like you have to put it out. It has to be done by today. Unless, of course, you're doing a daily render series. Then in that case, I do like recommend trying to finish in those in a day, because I did do that for a bit. Because that's another, it depends what your exercise is going to be. If you're just like, I have to make something that looks epic, you need to put some time into that, instead of just like forcing yourself. Oh my goodness, I've been here for hours. Why doesn't this look good? Like maybe hop off and take a break for a little bit. What GPUs are you using right now? Right now, I am using a single. It'll actually show up in the list right here. It should. Here we go. I'm using a 970, just a standard 970, and I have a 980 Ti. So those are the two cards I'm using at the moment. Now, I am looking into upgrading. As soon as the price drops down for 1080 Ti's, I am thinking of upgrading the 970 to 1080 Ti. So I'm going to have a 980 Ti and then a 1180 Ti, or a 1080 Ti. But right now, with this particular project, what I have, am I in the wrong view? Here we go. This is basically, and this is a lot of VRAM. I am totally running way too many trees right here, which is what's kind of killing this render for me. And I needed to optimize this a lot because I have so much stuff going on. I've actually made the scene way too big. But the goal of this animation is to basically have this knight kind of running in the background. He jumps up, then he leaps in the air, slows down, and comes down. It's really amazing with what the character animation controls. Like, you can take all type of mocap data, and you can actually animate transitions between that mocap data, and you can actually animate the speed of that. So this is just one jump. So this is a mocapped animation where it goes won't jump, but I cut it and split it to another animation, kind of like editing in Premiere Pro, and then slowed it down. So it does like this slow motion effect as he comes in, which I think looks pretty cool. I think it's pretty dynamic. What I'm going to do, I wonder if this will load in. When Octane gets this render failure issue, it's just because the VRAM kind of in a way got corrupted or glitched out per se. So it's kind of like a bug that can happen. In this particular case, it looks like it's going to crash everything. That's okay. I have everything saved. I'm a little paranoid and constantly like save, save, save. So that is okay. So everything is saved. Where is it? 31 night. This is it. So we'll load that back in. But it's very interesting just how you can mix that. Like, you can get some really high-end stuff out of doing those different types of animations, just like by running through different mocap animations and blending that. I got all those mocap stuff from, boy, I can't remember where. It's Adobe's Mixamo. How can I forget that name? Mixamo. It's from Mixamo.com. Great website. Check it out. So many free animations, so many free character models, all with your Adobe subscription. Pretty sweet. Seems to be loading in. We'll see if we can get this rendering. Once it does, I really want to give you guys a look. I got a lot of stuff going on in this scene too, which what's really killing me is I'm limited to 4 gigs of VRAM because I have a 970 mixed in. But that'll be interesting. What's really cool is the new RTX cards actually support grouped VRAM. So if you have 10 gigs of VRAM in one card and 10 gigs of another, you have technically 20 gigs. It'll actually share the VRAM of both instead of just loading it in equally to both. It'll actually put half in one and half in the other, so you can actually have a lot more. Now, here we go. This is extremely heavy scene. Oh, no wonder it's the render region's locked so big. What the heck? So here is my knight who's kind of jumped in. I have depth of field, motion blur, and stuff on. Here's my little mushrooms and stuff all going on down here, and then he's kind of jumping way back. So we'll have him transition back in time. Let's see when he's jumping about right here. So my goal is I want to have like this dark forest type of scene where you don't see anything. You just see this kind of distant guy in the background, and then he's kind of running forward. And then as he runs forward, he gets closer to the log, and then he jumps over. And this is when he kind of makes his debut. He kind of jumps over that. That was one mocap animation to the jump right there. And we just transitioned to the next one. We're back into a run. And now right here, this is when he fully comes into the light, kind of per se, because we have this light coming in from the trees. And we got this great depth of field and motion blur going on him right here as he dives up into the air. He comes in, he comes down, and then it kicks into that slow motion, which is the part I really like about it. I didn't know about the autosave feature in C4D a few weeks back. I was working on a little smoky scenery when I tried to render using Octane. I got an error and C4 crashed, and the project got deleted. Ah, man. That sucks, man. Bit upon, I feel for you there. That is no fun. The autosave feature is a lifesaver. highly recommend everybody use that. It is really nice. It will save you quite a bit. That said, for me, I am like OCD paranoid about saving. Like constantly, I just have my hand sit on Control S all the time, and I'll literally punch it like 5 times a minute. So I am a little OCD about that. So that kind of helps too. I've had so many renders get just lost and destroyed in the past. I spent like 10 hours modeling a sword or something I was working on, and ended up getting deleted, which was that was a pain. Speaking of, this is a thing that a lot of people don't know. If I were to save this project right now, I was going to go File, Save As, and let's just say I would save it right here, and I would just call this Test, and I would click Save. It would generate a new C4D file called Test. A very big thing to be careful of is if I were to go into that folder and press Control plus Z, because Windows supports undo for files that were created. I do Control Z to undo that file. Cinema 4D will still keep saving to that file that doesn't exist. So I could work an hour on this project. It'll be saving, but the file that I'm saving to, I undid its creation and doesn't exist anymore. So when you close Cinema 4D, your file is just flat out, sad to say, gone. So whatever you do, do not press Control Z in the File Explorer area here. That is really bad to do. Not recommended. Will RTX series GPUs support shared memory? Really? That would be awesome. I didn't know about that. That is what's been going around. NVIDIA has been touting shared memory for a little bit, but the RTX cards are supposedly going to actually support that, and the main thing that needs to support is Octane has to support it. So NVIDIA has supported it for a little bit, but Octane supposedly is going with the latest version of Octane 4.0 coming out in 2019, I think, is supposedly, with the RTX card, supposed to actually have shared memory, which is going to be friggin' amazing. Especially, do you know Billy? Billy? Yes, I've heard about Billy Asks Myers Leo. He has put out some interesting content. Yeah, I've definitely heard of him. Will RTX series GPUs support shared memory? And about that, before I get sidetracked, the shared memory is just going to be so incredible, especially because they have some new Quadros coming out with 24 gigs of VRAM. Like, if this is the case, Octane is totally capable of having massive, like, one drawback, the reason Octane's not used for film, is because you have to fit all this stuff into the VRAM of your graphic card. And some cards only have like 6 gigs, right? You can't fit a full Pixar movie quality amount of stuff into 6 gigs of VRAM sometimes. Like some of these Pixar scene files they gave away for free are like 100 gigs in size. So it just can't fit all that. Now, it said you can be artistically particular, and that's a really smart workflow in actually dividing your scene up, which is what I'm going to do with this. I'm actually going to take the trees in the background and get rid of them. And then I'm just going to render the foreground. And then I'm going to render the background later, combine them both in post. That's way I can handle a big scene without using as much VRAM, but in the end result, it looks really good. This said, sometimes you just can't do that, and that's why they need the flexibility to have something that can support. That's why they use CPU renderers to be able to stuff all that RAM into that geometry into the just plain RAM of your system, because you can easily get 128 gigs of that. One of the best things about version 4.4 is that it supports virtual memory. NC17Z, that is so friggin' true. Octane, and that's a really good point to bring up, is Octane version 4.0 is going to give you the ability to have virtual memory. Now, what does that mean? Virtual memory means you're going to have the ability to actually use the memory in your system, your actual RAM, and use that as VRAM. Now, on top of that, we've been able to do that a little bit with Octane with textures, but now you're actually going to be able to fully do it. So if you don't have enough VRAM in your card, you'll actually be able to offset that. It will render slower, but you'll actually be able to stuff the GPU, the geometry into the RAM on your computer. Now, I might be incorrect, so correct me if I am wrong, NC17Z, but I believe also virtual memory is where you can actually take space on your hard drive and actually cache the geometry. It would take even longer. It would take a lot longer to load in. But I believe it also allows you to cache the geometry into a physical place on your hard drive. So if you have a 3 terabyte hard drive, I'm sure there's probably going to be limitations to it, but that would make me assume you'd probably be able to load 3 terabytes of data. Yes, it works extremely well, says NC17Z. Well, dang, that is friggin' awesome. That right there in itself is going to fully push Octane into the movie industry even further, because no longer will you be limited by VRAM usage. You'll be able to take both graphic cards, duplicate them together. Two 24 gig cards, that's like 48 gigs of VRAM right there. That's massively huge. Plus, on top of that, now with the ability to offset and actually use RAM on your computer, so you got 16 gigs of RAM, even more space. And then finally, if that's not enough, like you're saying, NCZ 17Z, you can stuff it actually cached onto a hard drive. That would be friggin' amazing. So again, Octane is making some large leaps that's going to make it extremely competitive with the film industry. And that's why I'm really making the Octane Master Course, is because I want to be able to ride Octane version 4.0, ride Octane version 4.0's success and be able to take Octane Render, take all these great new features, and I want to be the forefront in teaching and having these new industries that are popping up thinking about, hey, wow, this Octane Render seems like a force to be reckoned with. Maybe we should consider buying it. And I want to have all that training right there for these people. Everybody who's willing to adopt it, I want to have the documentation issue side of Octane fully resolved. I want to have all that documentation down. But I'm getting sidetracked. I loaded a 2 million poly project, and it was butter in the viewport. Really, NCZ17. Did you load that in with the Octane 4.0 Cinema 4D plugin, or is that just Octane Standard? Man, 20 million. That is some seriously, seriously high polygon objects. My gosh. That is a pretty heavy scene. Does overclocking a GPU make any difference in render time? No, it was standard. Oh, okay. But the same thing is, if it's working in standard, I'm sure they're going to get it over for the C4D version. That is a very good question, Bitupon. I've actually tried it. Yes, overclocking your GPU will improve its render performance in Octane Render a little bit. I tried it. I got some better performance. I overclocked a little higher. I got even better performance, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I'm getting basically for free faster rendering, and then I did a little bit higher, and I crashed my graphic card, my computer black screened, and I almost bricked my GPU, but I had double BIOS in it, and I was able to flash it back to the old way so it didn't die. Long story short, the performance boost you get out of overclocking is very small. And in my opinion, it is not worth the risk. It was a very risky thing I did. I do not recommend it. I only got about 5% boost at most in performance, like at extreme most. In my opinion, that 5% gain was not worth the risk that's involved with it. So not really recommended. Recommend keeping the cards at the stock level or the pre-overclocked level that you get them in. KRNG Impel says hi. Hey, KRNG, welcome to the chat. Happy to have you here. But before I forget, I'm going to go ahead and grab some of these mushrooms. I have them pre-textured and everything, and I'm just going to pull these over to my scene. I get distracted, so I'm just going to do Control-C. I'm going to hop over. Oops, actually, I already have that scene pulled up over here somewhere. X-Particles can. And Thuriel, welcome Thuriel. Hello to you too. Thank you for joining the chat. Happy to have you here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this in. Oh, I forgot these were instances. I got to go back to the raw geometry. I have them over here somewhere. What is it, underground elements? Yeah. I have the real reason this scene is so heavy is because I am scattering mushrooms and ferns with subsurface scattering with high 8K displacement on my floor right here throughout this scene. What's a story about Quadro GPU for Octane? That's a question asked by, sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, Shahid? I'm very sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. That is a very good question, and welcome to the chat, too. Happy to have you here. GTX is better, really. Just like you said, yeah, I want you to know it's better than GTX. Quadros are technically better. They do perform better than a GTX card, but And I actually can show a really good example of this right here. Did I stop that render? Yeah, I'll stop that render. If you go to Octane Bench, we'll just go to Octane Bench. There is a really great example on here that's view the results. And here we have, let's just look at single GPUs only. We'll keep it real simple. Here we have Tesla. This is Quadro, basically. Here's a Quadro. We'll go down, compare, and remember, these are really high-end Quadros. So let's just go ahead, start at the top. Here's a Quadro, the GP100. This is, oh, we just got a question. Hi, I just joined in. What version of Octane is he talking about? Mohammed Ali, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Welcome to the chat. Happy to have you here. The version of Octane where he was able to load in 20 million polygons, that would be the new Octane 4.0, and I think he's probably using the latest beta version. I'm not 100% sure. You'd have to ask NC17. He was the one who was doing that, which was really crazy. Thank you for sharing that, NC. Here we have a Quadro card, and we're looking at 230 is its score, and that's pretty good. But you have to remember that this Quadro GP100, I forget how much this costs, but I think it's like something like $5,000. So you're talking $5,000. They hit a score of 230. I mean, that's pretty cool. That's a really high score for a single card. But the problem is if we look at a 1080 Ti, we got a score of 185. Not to mention, we can get a 1080 Ti at most for $1,000. So we're looking at a fifth of the price for only, like what? I think we're like 30% short. So we're looking at 500% cheaper for 30% less power. So is it worth paying 500% more for only a 30% gain? It depends. For me personally, your best bang for your buck is always going to be a GTX series over the Quadros. Now, this said, like NC just said, it's about the ECC memory. Quadros are going to have much, much more VRAM and better memory, and they're going to have different standards, and they'll be more adaptive. They're going to be more flexible. They're going to be basically more, what's the word I'm looking for? More durable, or they have a higher standard of construction when they make those cards. So they have a much higher chance of surviving for a longer time. They're only made in a few manufacturing facilities, so they have a very high standard when they make the what's it called, the GTX cards, or not the GTX, the Quadro cards. So they have a much longer lifespan, and they're much more robust to last longer. So if you have a server room where you cannot afford to have a graphic card go down, you should have a Quadro. That said, I mean, my cards have run great for like 4 years, and if a card dies, I can get it repaired. It's not the end of the world. I'm okay having a little bit of risk involved with a GTX card dying and saving massive amounts of money. But really, for an Octane user, the real reason you should be concerned about buying a Quadro or not is like what NC said. It's about the memory. You can get so much more memory. For the latest Quadros that come out, it's going to be the best one, which is 10 grand. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but this card has 48 gigs of VRAM. That's mind-blowing for a single card, and it's going to perform really well, I'm sure. So again, if you're a studio that has got to have a lot of VRAM in that card, Quadros might be the thing you're looking for. Let's see. Octane 4 release date, please. Octane 4 is already out. And the beta for Octane version 4.4, or sorry, Octane 4.0 for Cinema 4D and Octane Render is also out. So you can get it right now. It is on the market, but it is in beta. It is not fully launched. They're still figuring out bugs. So if you're going to be using Octane 4.0 in Cinema 4D, it's a little buggy. It's probably going to crash, and there's probably going to be some things that don't work yet, and they're still changing a lot of stuff. So I do not have any training content out for it yet because I only want to teach the actual finished product. I don't want to teach the beta product, so when they actually launch it, everything's going to change again. I only want to teach the actual stable versions. That is the only thing. I only put updates out on the actual stable versions of Octane. It was released a month or two ago. Yep, that was, NC said that was released about a month or two ago. They're built for pro workstations. Yep, that's a great example, as they are in a lot of professional workstations, the Quadros. And Ali asks, yes, 4.0 is definitely on the market. Where was I? Oh, before I get distracted, let's see, mushrooms. Here's a whole bunch of cool mushrooms that I got in here, all with scatters, all running under this. Actually, I have so many scatters set up. I'm just going to copy these mushrooms right here, pull them over to my X particle scene, paste these in, and I'll literally have a bunch of instances ready to go. So that'll be handy. That's really great. And I already have them pre-textured, so we'll go ahead and close this down. Yep, should be good to go. It's going to freeze for a little bit. There we go. Now we're back into our new scene. I'm going to do Control W, click No, I don't want to save, and here we go. Here's our scene. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to delete all these mushroom instances. What do I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mushrooms. I'm going to dump all these down here and just focus on these 9. So these 9 mushrooms right here are my base plate. I need to actually separate these into another file. And they're way too small. I'm going to go ahead and scale these up a little bit then. Actually, this is frequent errors, CUDA 700 errors with the latest beta. Aw, man, the real just said that. That is a shame. That's a bummer. I'm not too surprised. That's because I do know that Octane is a little unstable in the beta version, especially for 4.0. That is a shame. But again, as soon as I'm sure they're going to get that fixed. And once they do, that'll be really, really nice to use those features of 4.0. And as soon as it is, I definitely want to have that out on the course. But again, I only want to do the stable versions, and that's a perfect example why, because of those errors and stuff. I don't want to have stuff taught under that's not going to line up too well. I made something in C4D and Octane I want to show you. Oh, excellent. I'd love to check that out. 1000 ATI is absolutely worth it. Yeah, a 1000 ATI for about 600. It's a pretty good deal, especially nowadays. That said, prices are dropping pretty quickly with the new 2000 series out. But that said, 600 right now is a freaking great deal. Hopefully it'll go away after the release. Yeah, for real, I really hope it. I'm sure it will. I definitely hope they get that worked out. I'm sure they will get that worked out. They're usually pretty good with that. I've pushed it hard and it hasn't crashed yet for me. NC, that is nice. Glad to hear it. I think Threal was having the errors with it crashing in the C4D plugin version. Are you using the C4D plugin or the standalone version when you were doing those tests with it? That could be. It might be that oh, okay. So you were using the C4D one. So yeah, that's weird. It must be different types of graphic cards. Wow. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I really definitely I want to play around with that 4.0 a bit more. But that's gonna be pretty sweet. I really want that to launch soon. I can't wait to get the full stable version out. Yeah, that's strange. It must be because you two might have different cards. Yeah, there's a lot of variables in that. One thing I would say, Threal, is try uninstalling Octane and reinstalling it back in. That might help. I have a Quadro K5000 and two 1080s. Nice, man. That is the way to do it. You are going to be rocking some rendering with that. Houdini engine plus C4D plus Octane will be my dream combination, says Mohammed. That I totally agree with. That is my dream combination too. Houdini is friggin' amazing. And bringing that into Cinema 4D, especially with the Cinema 4D integrations that R18 Plus has with the Houdini, is pretty friggin' amazing what you can do and import stuff in now. And Octane just, boy, renders stuff gorgeously. Just gorgeous. So that is, I totally agree with you. That is a dream combination. What was I doing? Oh, yeah. I need to go to coordinates, and I like to scale these up. This is something you don't actually do too much. I wish I could afford Houdini, says NC. I agree with you, man. I wish I could afford it, too. It is a friggin' sweet program. I'd love to get my hands on it, but I think it's like $4,000 for just the standard or something. And Ollie just said, too, Houdini is very difficult, and I totally agree with you on that. I've watched some videos on it, and it is rough. Yes, you can share a link here. Absolutely. That is totally okay, says Shahid. Or Shahid. Sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly. And then 10 years of education. Yeah. Support attributes in Houdini. Yes, that is true. Octane doesn't fully support some of the attributes. That said, there is some workarounds, like depending on what you're doing. Like if Houdini can export over a vertex, like so you're doing like a liquid sim that has the color of the liquid, get a vertex map off of that. The whatever Houdini calls a vertex map can translate over to Cinema 4D, and then from there you can take the vertex map that Cinema 4D has translated into it into Octane. So as long as Houdini can get it in a Cinema 4D format, Octane should be able to take it. But that said, it doesn't always. So it depends. Again, though, if you're using Octane only in Houdini, because Houdini has an Octane, there's an Octane version for Houdini as well, that might be a problem then. And quite honestly, from what I've seen, the best plug-in version of Octane is for Cinema 4D. The other plugin developers, I'm not knocking them anything because they're doing really good work and it's still really nice, but it feels like the plugin developer for Cinema 4D tends to be the best one. I feel like it has the best level of integrations, the best added content. I feel like it just has a little bit extra oomph behind it. It can with alembics easily. Oh, excellent. That's really nice. Yeah, alembics are a really great file format. I remember learning about them a little bit ago, and that was a big, big thing to learn about. But everything works better with Redshift. Yeah, Redshift is interesting. I do like it. I've tried it and messed around with it. It's definitely got some nice benefits to it. Nice ferns, says Three. Oh, thank you very much. I have a video out on YouTube showing how to make these, actually. It's pretty cool. They're from Quexel Megascans. Great site. R20 has a lot of great things. All the new file types it can import. That is a big point, NC. I really want to get my hands on R20. That's something I totally want to do. But for these mushrooms, since what I have here going on is basically I have my raw mushes. I call them raw mush. And it's just these mushrooms down here. And they're already textured, and they're already set up, and they're already good to go. And I just have them stacked on top of each other and hidden. Because this is not actually what's being rendered. I have these hidden in here, and I have each mushroom instanced through these instances up here, all 9 of them. And then through the instance, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go to my coordinate mode, and I'm going to set myself something that not a lot of people do and shouldn't do in most cases. But in this case, it is actually okay, as I'm going to go to object mode. Now, when I go to object mode and I press T on my keyboard, I scale it. And when I scale it, I'm actually scaling my mushrooms based off of their actual scaling parameters here on scale, not actually scaling the mesh up itself. I'm actually just scaling up the object's position in space, which is not recommended. It's not something you should do very much at all. It can bug out. It's just not recommended very much at all. But in this case, because it is just an instance, and I am just instancing these mushrooms, so they're just going to be just a simple little instance that's going to sit there. I'm not going to model on them. I'm not going to edit them. I'm not going to change anything with them. They're just going to be themselves. And the raw geometry is still, it's correct 1 by 1 by 1 in scale here. It is totally okay. So we don't have to worry about that much. I'm going to go ahead and hit render here, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys these mushrooms. I might have to adjust some scattering and some setups here, but this is going to look pretty dang cool. Let's see. Should load in. There we go. So right off the bat, our subsurface scattering is way off because I scaled these up. If I drop them back down to the 1 by 1 by 1, I do want to give you guys just a little example. This is a little bit better. They still need some lighting and stuff going on. But I'm going to go ahead and make those bigger again. These mushrooms are textured right in here. And I believe, did I run them straight? Or I think I run them through a mixed material. Did I? Yes, I did. So this mushroom is a little complex. But what it is I take the Quexel Megascan mushrooms, I mix it with a regular Octane glossy material, and mix that with a diffuse material. The diffuse material is for the subsurface scattering, the light that's coming through it, and the glossy material is just to add a little bit of kind of reflection and light to it. I can't share link in the chat. That's weird. Let me check the settings. I have 1 week till my short-term C4D license expires. I hope I can upgrade to R20 right after release. Oh man, well that'll stink when that expires. I definitely hope Thuriel you're able to get the full version. R20 should be pretty sweet. I don't have it yet, but it is really nice. I've seen so much stuff about it, and I really can't wait to get my hands on it eventually. Let me see. Uh, bu- 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 Shahid, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Let's see. How can I get links to work? I'm not actually sure how to do that. Super chat. What's this? Automatically block spam. Maybe this is it? I don't think I can turn this spam blocker off. Maybe that'll work for you. I'm sorry if I can't get this working for you. There is a way to allow links, but I'm not exactly sure how to do that. It should allow you. Try now. Now might work. But for the mushrooms, basically what it bugged out is I need the color input to go back into the diffuse. That's going to fix everything up. I also want my normal to fit in. What I got? Roughness. I'm going to pump my roughness into this as well. And what is this? Is this just... That's specular. I don't even use a specular, quite honestly. I just run that default. And what is this? Is this another... Yeah, this is LOD 5. What's this, LOD 4? Yeah, I like LOD 4. I'm going to run this into this normal down here. So I did a little bit of work on these mushrooms, but here we go. Now that they're connected up properly, sometimes in the copy and paste transfer, because it is an old scene, sometimes those little nodes will come undone. But here we go. Look how well these mushrooms turned out. And these mushrooms are 3D scanned. Now, again, they're very low poly looking. So we didn't get much mesh detail out of this, but we brought over from the 3D scan the texture. Look at this gorgeous texture we get from these mushrooms, right? This is just gorgeous. And with the right level of index, you can get some really nice reflections out of this. So look at the nice reflections we're getting on the mushroom, and just so much stuff that you can do just to really bring some life into it. I think I might actually just run for the glossy. I think I know why I didn't plug the roughness in for that, because I want my own manual roughness value. I'm thinking of setting a roughness of something a little higher. Oh, we have no roughness right now. Okay, that'll do it. So we'll set something like 0.1. I'm kind of liking that. Maybe 0.2. Okay, just something. Okay, I like 0.1 a little bit better. Well, maybe 0.2. Yeah, we'll give these mushrooms a little bit rougher of a look. I think that'll look better. So here you go. These mushrooms are already looking pretty nice. I just might adjust the subsurface scattering a little bit on them, just by going to transmission and pumping it up to, say, 5. Okay, that's bringing some life into these mushrooms. But the first things first is we need to start blocking everything out. So I'm just going to take these mushrooms, and what I like to do is I already have them kind of organized, so I'm just going to go and press NA. Yeah, that'll do it. And we'll start moving these around. So the easiest way to do this, quite honestly, and this is a little trick, because I'm going to do Control-S to save real quick, is we're going to stop Octane Render. I'm just going to stop it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down left control plus tab. And this is just going to full screen this viewport that I have my mouse over. I can do the same thing with Octane, full screen that, full screen my materials, etc. Left control plus tab, full screen. So now I just can really quickly just focus on what I'm after. So I'm like, okay, let's just get some mushrooms position. Select this mushroom, pull him around, just full screen, focus on this scene right here, focus on the objects. Try the local DB for material transfer. It keeps the nodes in mixed materials. That is a really great thing, Threal. That's a really good point. Using the local DB for the material transfer is a totally recommended way of doing it. So I should actually save my mushroom textures as a preset in there, instead of just pulling them over from other scenes. That will do a much better job. So do that. You go to Materials, open LiveDB, and then through here you can actually save your own material presets, which is crazy handy. You got a local DB right here. I have a few here. I actually teach that in the master course as well. Really good point. Thank you for mentioning that, because that is a really great way of saving your materials. Super great way. Sorry to disturb you, but it's not working. I can't share YouTube link. Boy, how to get links to work? I'm very sorry about that. Is there a way you can type the link without it actually detecting it as a link? Like, boy, I'm really not sure how to get those links to go through. According to the settings here, everything should be allowed. I'm going to have to spend more time working on that, getting that figured out. Sorry ahead of time for that. I need to get that kind of working. But hopefully I can get that figured out sometime. But sorry about that. Looks like it's a YouTube thing. Oh, YouTube itself might not allow it. I almost wonder. Yeah, boy, I don't know why it would be doing that. That's interesting. That's really weird. But I'm a big fan of doing the left control tab. So pulling that up, doing that makes things so much easier. It's another trick. This might actually... No, I don't think it'll break it. Let's try this out. If you haven't tried it, there's something called snapping in Cinema 4D. And notice how I'm trying to pull these mushrooms. I'm trying to put them down on the ground right here. See how kind of it's clipping through the ground. I'm kind of like pulling them around. I'm like, okay. It's being a little annoying, you know, trying to get these to match and stick with the floor because that's really what I'm after. What we can do is we can do something called snapping. Now, snapping, copy it without the .com or the THP. Okay, yeah, NC, that's a good point. Try and paste it in that way. That is, that way it shouldn't detect it as a link. So get rid of the .com at the end and the HTTP in the beginning. That should do it. But if you literally go over here and we enable snap, and we go back into our snap, and I'm just going to connect this whole panel. And then in here, we could do something called Polygon Snap. Or actually, let's do Vertex Snap. We'll just try that now. And now what should happen, if I full screen this, nice, we're going to keep our panel right here. As I move this around, yeah, this is going to lag us out. Maybe not a Vertex Snap. Let's do Polygon Snap. See, it is working. It will slow us down, but still worth it in my opinion. It is going to snap right down there to our polygon. Oh, okay, now that's weird. That is really weird. Okay, so Polygon Snap is great. It's actually snapping the mushroom to the polygon, but there's a strange thing. If I left-click and drag it only on this axis here, it freaks out. But if I just left-click in the scene and just left-click and drag away from the mushroom, just like left-click here and drag, it's going to start moving him around. So if I left-click, it's going to select, and then if I hold down left-click and drag, it's going to snap him. So it's going to automatically snap him to the ground. So any polygon just going to snap him right into it. Very handy. I'm going to disable Polygon Snap, do back to Vertex. Vertex is a little wonky. Polygon Snap is usually a little bit better. Intersection Snap. This might be cleaner. It's kind of cleaner. Not quite what I'm after. I'm just going to end up doing Polygon Snap because that just working a little bit better for me. So we're just going to go ahead and put this mushroom right here. Grab this mushroom. Yeah, put him here. Grab this mushroom. Put him here. Grab this mushroom. I'm just going to start building a scene. So if you're ever trying to snap these things to the ground, Polygon Snap comboed with just left-clicking and dragging it saves you a friggin' lot of time. And you can always refine these later. Like right now, say you don't like this mushroom. Like, well, this mushroom's too high. I'm not very happy with that. Well, then you can go ahead and grab it and pull it down. And you can always turn snapping on and off. So I'm just going to go ahead and hold down the shortcut Shift plus S. That disables snapping. So now snapping's off. And I can just say, okay, move it around. Nice. I got this in place. Grab this mushroom. Pull him down a little bit maybe. Do I got any more mushrooms in there? No, I don't. Say I don't like this mushroom over here at all. Shift plus S, snapping back on. Move him over here. Shift plus S, snapping off. Pull him down a little bit. Press R, rotate, and you just start kind of going and just start kind of building your environment. So, and I can always copy these because, again, these are instances. So I've gone ahead and made sure they're all set to render instances. Any tips for modeling? Or shortcut keys for modeling? Boy, I am not a super good modeling person. Well, I mean, I'm not too horrible. I'm working on it. I'm trying to improve. Tips for modeling. Modeling takes a lot of time and patience, and the biggest tip I can give for modeling is know what you're going to make. Focus on the object and try and figure out what is the best way to make this object. For a perfect example, a modeling project, because I'm actually trying to improve on modeling. A modeling project I was working on is this fox model. This is something, this is a 3D render that's not mine. I got it off the website. This is my reference. And it's really recommended if you're going to model something based off of a real object, not 3D. But I couldn't actually find this position of a fox picture. So I'm actually after trying to make a fox model, and this is what I got. It's extremely low poly, but the best way that I actually came up with modeling this fox was actually with the Polygon pen tool. So literally what I did is I just was in standard mode, or actually I like modeling in the model mode. I don't know why. It just has it just gives me access to the Polygon pen and a few other tools. I don't use hotkeys too much. That said, that was your main question. What hotkeys to use? Here is my recommendation for some really good hotkeys. Ones that I use frequently is you select this is UL. This is loop selection. Huge, huge tool. Without this, I don't know what I would do. Another one, another quick tip is UY, which is to grow selection. So let's see, I'll press E. I'm going to select this line. I'm going to do U plus Y. That'll grow. You keep doing it. I keep growing that selection. And then I can degrow by UZ. Oh, no, that's melt. What was it? What was it? UW. No, UW select all. What was it? UI. UI is invert. That's another big one. UI is invert. What's it? Shrink, melt, grow. Selections use Y. Invert, UV, shrink selection, UK. That always throws me off. So I'll do UI, re-invert that, UK, 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 and that'll just keep shrinking it, and UI will grow, etc., etc. So those are the main hotkeys I use. For this particular Fox model, the way I built him, believe it or not, was not starting with any base mesh. I started with a single polygon. I started with the Polygon pen tool, hopped in here, and then just started like coming down with the feet. So I went bong bong, made a polygon, and then I press escape. Or how do you branch off like this, and then you click here to finish it. And I think, yeah, that should fill in. I forget how exactly you start, but basically I just kept copying. Do I have snapping on? I might. Something's wrong with my, quad strip mode's off, no wonder. What's it quad? Topologize result, new, auto weld off. Why isn't this working? I'm in point mode, press E. But anyway, you want to kind of copy these points with the Polygon pen tool. Oh, no wonder. It's in point mode. I want in edge mode. Something. Oh, shoot. No wonder. I'm connecting the wrong point. Okay, the reason it was doing that is, and again, I'm not a modeling expert, as you guys can tell, is I had my symmetry object set to clamp, and every time I pulled down, I was clamping that symmetry right there. So if I went to the symmetry object, went to object, turned off weld points, went back to the Fox, re-pulled down, it would work. But I don't want to do that. So it was actually, I left that on precisely to keep myself from doing what I just did. So that's a good thing I left that on. But basically, I'll just hold down left control, pull out a point, pull out a point, pull out a point. And a perfect example is, say I was about to work on these feet. I'll pull out a point here, reposition, grab this point, say, okay, we got the toes. We're going to start maybe here, pull this up, go back to the Polygon pen, turn on auto weld, quad strip mode off, turn that on. It'll snap up there. Modeling is not very fun to watch, I don't think, so I'm not going to bore you guys with this. But then I literally just would pull out, get the overall feel for the foot down, and then go back into 3D mode. I'm going to undo that. And then from here we go. We got like a basic thing for the feet. I'm going to go ahead and grab this point. I would pull it over. I'll grab this point, pull this over, and I would just kind of keep rearranging these points to get them kind of overall in the shape I wanted. Now, the main point is I use the Polygon pen tool in this particular instance just to get the basic shape out. And as soon as the basic shape is down, I leave the Polygon pen tool and I go back into shaping stuff kind of more manually. So I get like a basic shape here. The feet are really hard. There's a reason they're not done yet. The rest of the body I've done. I feel like it's turned out pretty good. It's, again, I'm not a modeling expert. I'm working on a low poly fox. It needs a few more polygons on them. Overall, it's turned out pretty decent. The best result, I've tried modeling this fox in so many different ways. I've started with so many different types. The ear needs some work. But the best case I had, and everybody has different tastes, you could start with a cube and model out this way. But for me personally, modeling with the Polygon pen tool, I found a video on YouTube showing this guy in Blender doing that, and that's what I tried. And that was my saving grace, because I could not for the life of me get this dang fox model to come out anything like I wanted until I started using the Polygon pen tool. because for me personally, I tend to go overboard on polygons. I'll be working on the ear, not even have the feet done, and I'll have a million polygons on the ear. Way too overkill. So this is a great way for me to force myself. Less is more, less is more, low polygons. You can always add more, but it's a pain in the butt to take away. So then literally what I'll do is I'll do this, and then I'll switch over here, and then with the polygon pen tool, my middle mouse button is breaking, that's why it's doing that. But literally from here, then I'll just say, okay, we'll grab this, snap here, grab this, snap here, grab this point, snap it to that. I'll go down here, select that point. Actually, we'll just go ahead and grab this out here, grab this here. And once I get like a basic shape for the mesh, I'll press E, grab, go back to point mode, grab this, and I'll just start moving these points around. I grabbed the wrong one there. We'll lift it up, we'll pull it over, we'll pull back down, and we're making sure to keep quads. And that's the big thing, is you want to make sure you keep your polygons in a good quad shape. We'll press, what's the polygon pen tool? Cool. M plus E, that is a shortcut. And I'll just grab this, pull this over, snap, grab this, pull this over, grab this, pull this over. And again, we're just kind of slowly pulling the foot together. It takes a lot of time, a lot of patience. This is really being botched up, quite honestly, here. But you guys are getting the picture. And I'm going to take this, snap that over there. And I think, yeah, what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to snap that here. And yeah, I'm going to keep that about like that. Bring that over, snap that there, snap this here, and then we're going to be able to have a perfect 4-quad strip right here to close this up. So again, we've closed the feet. They look horrible, but you guys get the idea. I'm not going to save this because it's just me messing around, but that's kind of the idea there. I want to get better at modeling. I really do. I've done a few modeling projects. There's a little Lego guy I've been working on, some Lego bricks and stuff I made. Those I did start with a raw mesh. Let's see if I got that somewhere. I don't want to bore you guys with my horrible modeling stories because I'm really not the best at that. More into texturing. I'm a texture artist at heart and animator. I do like to animate as well. Sadly, texturing requires a base mesh and animating requires something to animate. So I am at the whim of trying to get models because I'm not really the best at modeling. But here's a Lego brick that I made. And it was a fun one. It was a great project. I wanted a Lego brick that was really true to real life, so I got all the actual measurements, modeled it low poly. This, I did start with an actual block and worked from there. So that was a really great kind of experiment and test doing that. But again, you can see that my real passion, again, is the texturing. I much more enjoyed that, and I feel like my texturing work came out a lot better than the actual result from the modeling. But wish I could have been more help with that. But here we go. We're moving the mushrooms again. What could we do to make these mushrooms easier to see? What could we do? Well, I can do N. Oh, this is a great shortcut. N plus Q will disable and enable textures. So N plus Q will turn us to display Garrod shading. And then if I do the shortcut N plus Q, it'll change our display to Garrod shading with texture. So it'll basically hide it. So we'll do, what is it? We have Garrod shading, and then we have, what is the, what is it? Constant shading? No, it was Garrod shading. Yeah, Garrod shading with lines, constant shading. Boy, I forget which one it is. It basically disables the textures. I'm not exactly sure which one it is in here, but I only know the shortcut, actually. I can't believe it. I used to know the actual command, but I haven't actually manually done it in so long. I don't know how it is, but you just press N plus Q, and you disable the textures. N plus Q, you turn it back on. N plus B turns on the Garrod shading with lines, and N plus A disables that. So since I pressed N plus Q, we get a little reference to these textures here. And this, if I do Shift plus S, turn my snapping back on, press E, lets me move around and kind of place my mushrooms wherever I need them to be. So we'll go ahead, N plus Q is the C for D clay mode. Oh, that's what it is. It's the clay mode. Okay. So, yep, that's what I live on, is N plus Q, going back and forth from that clay mode. Very good point, Threal. Thank you for letting me know about that, because I wasn't sure why it wasn't showing up here. I don't know where you manually turn that on. I've actually only ever done that in here with the shortcuts. I'm not sure where the actual button is. But then literally we can just start moving the mushroom around. We'll select another mushroom over here, select another mushroom here, and I do need to get the camera shot actually lined up, which that might be a good thing to start on too. But I do like, we'll just go ahead and get like a regular little mushroom bed going. Just something kind of neat. And I am in object mode, so I can scale these things around and just be like, okay, I'm going to copy this, hold down left control, literally just pull a new one over here, press T, rotate down, go to world space. And now what's so cool is we can get really quick and cheap is I only want to rotate on Y, so I'm going to disable every axis, and I'll just literally grab and then just start moving it around. Say, okay, move here, press R, rotate a little bit, press E, maybe move him here, grab this mushroom, hold down left control, pull this over here, press R, rotate maybe a little bit here, press T, scale down a little bit. And you can see that we can get really, really quick with what we're doing right here. I'm going to get this mushroom, put him here, press T, scale him down a little bit, maybe move him over here, copy him over here, scale him up, get a real big mushroom, rotate him around, show that side a little bit more. Grab this little one, pull him over here, scale him down a lot, press E. R, rotate, and again, you can really get some super quick movement. How to make a complex, realistic material, you can show us a little example. Show you an example of a really realistic, complex looking material. Boy, okay, let's see. What is a great example of a material sample I could show you guys? A really robust, complex material. Let's see. I need to go to what? After dailies. One of the best. Oh, I think I know exactly the one. It's not super complex. It's interesting. You can have really nice looking materials without it being complex. Like you don't have to have a material be extra complex for it to look realistic. Now you can have some super realistic materials that do require some complex setups depending on what you're after. For example, you don't always have to though. For example, we have, or I have in here somewhere, what is it? John's Projects for Fun Lantern. Here we go. Lantern from Cinema 4D. I think it's got to be this one. Maybe it's this one. Oh, no, this is an FBX. We'll do Octane Test. It's got to be the Octane Test one. Here we go. This right here is a lantern model that I got for free from a tutorial that you can take on Substance Painter. And following this tutorial, I painted this lantern and brought it in and rendered it in Octane Render. So this is rendered in Octane instead of 4D. And we can see this render in our final result right here. I'm going to go ahead and hit render. Come on. This will take a little bit to load up because it is, what's the word? High-res texture. So here we go. Here's our lantern. I'm just going to get rid of the depth of field, make it infinite, pop this into full screen. And again, you can see this is a gorgeous looking texture, and I really feel happy with the results on this. Super realistic. Let's go ahead and dive into one of these materials. What is it that makes this material up? What is the complex structure that exists inside this? How complicated must this material be that makes this? So let's go ahead and focus on this base, because I'm really particularly happy with the E and my Epic J creations. Can you go through from the material nodes? Absolutely. I'll definitely open up the material nodes. That's a really that's a good point. I definitely should show you from in there. Here, let's focus on this one right here. See how we got all these grunges and scratches and just all kinds of stuff going on with this right here. If I select my base main, select the material, it'll show which one makes this up. Now I have a lot of materials in here because I have a lot of separate pieces. Each piece of the lantern has its own set of materials here, but this one particularly is the one I'm using. Now this is actually a little complex. What we have going on here, now this looks a lot more complex than it appears. It looks a lot scarier than what it actually is doing. All I have is I have my image textures that I loaded in from Substance Painter. Here they are. And these simply are loaded in. And that's my base mixed in with the amount, which I think my amount is based off of the lantern's metallic. Perfect. And I think this is all of them. So I literally only have a few textures loaded in. I have my metallic that shows the metallic parts of this. I have my diffuse color. This is my base color for my lantern. Then I have some roughness. This is the roughness. And then I have a normal map that gives me kind of that bump effect. Now, all the details and stuff that are painted in on here, this is all simply been painted in Substance Painter. I've done all that work in Substance Painter. I've painted the bumps and the bump maps and stuff. But then comes the process of actually loading it in and getting the Substance Painter workflow to actually work. Now again, this particular workflow you're watching right now is for Substance Painter. Sorry, Ali, you might have actually wanted to see like me making an entire material from scratch, not using a Substance Painter. Let me know if that's the case. I have other materials I can show you, but this is a particular one that's focused on just from Substance Painter's perspective to make these connect. Now, this whole complex structure was not made by me, and it's really not that complex. This is a preset that you all have access to and you all can get by simply going to Materials, open LiveDB. From in the LiveDB, you need to navigate up to, I believe it was, you go up to Materials, Checkerboard, Atlantic Textures, what was it, Composite? No, it was Textures. What was the other? It was Textures. No, it wasn't that. What was it? It was Materials, Organic, Miscellaneous. Here we go. This is the one. It's now all coming back to me now. So if you, and it's going to take a while. See, look, we're downloading materials. It's not actually downloading them. It's loading them in. It's loading the little thumbnail. If you go into here, and so it's important. You open up the LiveDB. You go down. You open up Materials. And then I don't think we need this. Yeah, you just open up Materials, and you click on Miscellaneous. You'll have access to this massive, massive library of materials, which almost all their materials get stuffed in the miscellaneous area. If you scroll down, you can't search it because it's bugged out. I don't know why. But there's this really great set of shaders that if we scroll down far enough, I think it's pretty far down. It's pretty dang far. I forget what it's particularly called. Should be something, yeah, Scratch. It's in the S section. See shiny. Should something be in here called Substance? Sky. It's in this lineup here somewhere. SS Blue. Oh, there it is. I just found them. Substance PBR. That's what you're looking for. They're going to be these red ones. Now you got a lot of them. There's quite a few. There's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of them. The one you want is this one. Get the one that has pre-built textures. I recommend this. Let's go ahead and select it. Let's click download. Once we click download, it's going to download it in here. And here we go, lo and behold, it's downloaded. It's going to download multiple versions. There's going to be 3 materials. There's going to be 2 bases plus the mix. I'm going to go ahead and open up the mix. Let's open up our node editor. I already have it open, actually. It's pulled over here. And this is the mesh you're going to get. It's a little bit messy. It's a little bit scary. Lights went off in my house. Uh-oh, but upon that, I hope your power didn't go out. That sucks. What are you showing now? I am showing the Substance Painter workflow. So basically, this is a lantern model that I got for free from Substance Painter that they gave for a tutorial. I followed the tutorial and painted this lantern based off of that tutorial. And then this is basically talking about how do I take these image files that I got from Substance Painter and brought them over to Cinema 4D and actually had them render in Cinema 4D correctly. So what you do is you download this preset that you can get right through the materials store. So open LiveDB, through the LiveDB. I think I already have the LiveDB open, actually. Oh, no, I don't, which it might have froze up. Yeah, but through the LiveDB, you actually go down and you get the Substance PBR materials. So you want to do LiveDB, Miscellaneous. So it's important you select Miscellaneous, and you scroll all the way down till you see Substance. We went a little too far. Substance. Here it is. Grass. Where's the S section? It's a little further down. Should be here somewhere. There's a lot of plastic. S. Here we go. So you want the Substance PBR materials, and you want to download Substance PBR, this one. This is the material you're after. You want to get that one. And when you download it, you're going to get these materials here, and there's a big mess. But the good thing is that the image files are already brought over. So what you want to do is you just want to grab all those image files. You want to pull them out. And I personally like to organize this, and that's what I did. But if you can get all the image files, the normal maps, etc., all of those pulled out and brought over, and there is a few duplicates, which I actually went through and cleaned this up. It's really messy, because they have a duplicate for each map. Like, they have a normal map for each material, so they plug, it's the same normal map, it's just duplicated twice, which makes it look more messy than it is. Once you clean this up, though, and stop all the duplicates, you have your diffuse materials. Remember, these are supposed to be 1, these are supposed to be 1, and these are supposed to be 1. And there only needs to be 1 transform node, not 2, so you can get rid of that duplicate there. But it looks so much more complicated than it actually is. This is nowhere near that. The real one, once you get it all cleaned up, is supposed to look like this. It'll just look like this simply right here. 1 of each material, 1 transform for each material, and this transform, it actually bugged out too. This transform doesn't even need to be there. So let's plug this transform into this slot, and we'll delete this transform because we don't need them. So we'll simplify it even further. What is happening is, for example, for our glossiness, we are fluctuating. We are saying for the amount in our mixed material, we are taking our glossiest, and we're using that value to determine what material will be shown. So the more glossy materials will have this more metallic part, where the dielectric part won't show through. So it's kind of morphing between this more intense metallic material and this dielectric material. Now, each of these have a different index. This one is an index of 1, and this one is also an index of 1, but they have different specular amounts. This one specular amount is determined by a fall-off mixed with this RGB spectrum, mixed with our color. So with basically what we're able to do is we're having we're having good fall off, so we're getting that nice good Fresnel effect on it, but we're able to have the color from our reflection show through. So you really don't have to be too concerned. Just realize that the color from our image is being affected by this fall off map that's driven through the reflections, and then the reflections on this is the more of diffuse one is also being pumped in for our color, and we're getting specular pumped through that one as well. And this specular for here is being driven by, of course, our roughness, because we need to have some roughness on that. And our roughness is also being multiplied very heavily on this one, less heavily on this one. This roughness is just running through a multiply as well. And it's also having our roughness pumped through an invert into our multiply down here, then into the specular. So again, though, all this stuff does is somebody went through and did a lot of work figuring out the proper calculation workflow and getting Octane Render to work with Substance Painter. So basically, long story short, all you have to do is simply load in these image files. When you export from Substance Painter, you put your metallic into the metallic slot, diffuse into the diffuse, roughness into the rough, and bump into the bump. Plug these in like this, slap the material whenever you want, and it'll work. You do have to get everything cleaned up, though. You literally just stop all the duplicates. But once you get your setup like to what I have here, it's really not that bad. So it's a pretty nice setup. I might make a tutorial on actually building this setup from scratch instead of having to download it. But that's something I'll have to think about. But again, this is an example. Now, I think Ollie was actually wondering something that was a little bit more self-made instead of something with Substance Painter. So let's see if I have an advanced material that I could share that's actually all my own. Or actually, not really that's all my own, but a material that's actually made fully in Octane, not in Substance Painter. So a great example for that, a nice advanced material, would be, save that to your local DB NC17Z. Yes, that's a good point. I have one problem with that, actually, though. Let me, hope I didn't close that lantern file. Oh, shoot, I did. Let me open that back up. I have one problem. I wonder if you guys can help me figure this out. Is I have, what is it, lantern from C4D? Octane Test was the one. If I save this to my DB, and this is a really interesting issue. I'm going to take this one just for the base plate right here. We'll use this as like our default base for any type of materials we need. We're going to go ahead into materials, live DB. And they might have fixed it, actually. Hopefully they did. That'd be really sweet if they did, actually. We'll go here. It'll take a little bit for the DB to open up because I'm still in the miscellaneous area. We'll go to local DB. And we'll save this, and we can save it just by literally dragging it up and dropping it in there, and lo and behold, it is saved. So now this material is saved and good to go. And what's so great is I can actually select this, delete this mix, and I should just be able to remove it from the entire group, and I'm going to bring it back in. So I'm going to go ahead, select my base one, click download. It should appear. Here's all 3 materials that made up that mix all saved, so that's a great way to do it. And now that they're downloaded, let's go ahead and apply it to it. We can just drag this literally up and in once they're all loaded in. There we go, it's loaded. Drag that up and in, and it should just work, and I think it's going to render just fine and dandy without any problems. How do you make this dirty glass look? The dirty glass I got, thank you for pointing that out. I'm actually really happy with how that turned out. And lo and behold, before I get distracted, this is working great. It all is done. But the problem is, in the mix, if I open it up, it does a duplicate. I think it did. Or actually, it seems to have organized it better than it did before. Maybe it fixed it. Okay. Okay, maybe it did. Or wait, did it duplicate? No? No, I think it did fix it. Okay. Good, good. Okay, I think that was a good idea. That was a really good idea. NC17Z. That seems to be working. Normally I had a problem where it would duplicate everything. Like it would give me 2 diffuse. Oh wait, I think it did it. No, it didn't. No, it seems to be working. I know I have 2 normals. Did it duplicate my normal? I think it did. I think it might have. Yeah, I got a normal here. No, it didn't. Oh wait, no it did. I got a normal here, normal here. So it tends to duplicate my maps for some reason. Yes, I got a diffuse and a diffuse. For some reason it does this. I'm not sure why. I'm a little stumped on how to save these materials without them getting duplicated like this, because it's really weird how it, with the mixed material, duplicates like it does. There's a solution for this, though. I'm actually trying to figure out, I want to make under the same system, which I could do it now. That would take a little bit of time, though, is instead of using a mixed material, I want to use an Uber shader, which a blend material. They used to call it an Uber shader. I'm thinking of the old one. But it's called a blend material. And we could use a blend material, which is a single material which contains all these inputs in one. And it would greatly simplify the setup. So instead of having 3 materials per piece, I would simply have 1 uber complex material. And that could just run everything with under that. NC says, did you figure out what could be causing the duplication on these nodes here? That could possibly, it's an interesting thing. You could also try disconnecting some. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I almost wonder. That would be interesting. Yeah, I could disconnect. I wonder if Octane's going to unfreeze. Then save it. That makes sense. Disconnect them, save it, then just simply plug it in. I've done that in the past. That is a really good idea. Unplug them, save it, and then all I have to do is just simply plug that one thing in to the port where it needs to go. That is a good idea. That's brilliant, actually. I think I'm going to give that a shot as soon as this unlocks. And then literally all I have to do is just plug each input back in. So it's only like 4 slots. That would save a lot of work. Yeah, Octane is not happy. It's like, oh no, too much stuff to render. Control-Alt-Delete is my friend. OBS isn't using too much usage. I'm happy with that. Yeah, it's just loaded up with so much RAM. I don't know what's going on with that. But I always push Octane to the limit. Nothing too unusual there. We'll get that booted back up. I'm sure you guys have bumped into the same thing. NC is not getting. Why disconnect? It worked on previous. The reason we would disconnect the materials, that's a very good question, Ali, or Ollie, is what we can do by disconnecting this, I'll load the lantern back in, is if the nodes are all connected together, right? Like I had, like this material right here. Let's see once this loads in. Loading in, there we go. Come on, here we are. See how every node is a single setup, right? We have everything all nice and connected. We have one of each texture. I have 4 textures in here. I have a normal, I have a diffuse, I have a roughness, and I have a glossy. each one is just one of them. The problem is when I save this, if I go in with this normal map here, see how it's connected to this material and this material? Well, if I save this out and load it back in, it creates a duplicate, creates two of them. And then that creates the problem. I have to have two of different points. So I have like two of these, and this one will connect to this one down here, and then I have the one connected up here, and then that just kind of gets a little bit annoying. It's kind of like, oh man, now I have two of these, and I just have so many nodes, and it does work, but it creates a lot of work for like a default material. So now I have to load in my normal map twice, my diffuse twice, et cetera, or I have to remanually connect them. So to stop this issue, which was a really good idea from NC pointed out, is if I go through and I say I disconnect the normal from here, and the roughness, yeah, I'm pretty sure that would work. So yeah, I disconnect the normal from there. What if I just simply, yeah, because we have our normal, so we'd want our normal here, our multiply and specular. Yeah, literally, if I just unplug, unplug, unplug. So all I have to do is specular, roughness, and normal. If I unplug these three and save this, this should work in theory. I'm thinking that was a really good idea. I'm pretty sure this is going to work. So if I go ahead, boot up Octane Layout, I'm pretty sure, which is less than 8 clicks and 2 seconds for you, to reconnect them, that is. Just do the ones that tend to duplicate. Yep, yeah, that's a good point, NC. Yeah, you should just do the ones that tend to duplicate, and that should do it. For me, all 4 tend to duplicate, but I'm pretty sure that if I go to local DB, take this one, I can right-click it, and I can click delete user material. I'll say, yes, I'm sure, and then I drag this mix into here. It should save it, select the base, click download. It's going to download it. They're downloaded. It'll take them a second to load in, and I'm pretty certain that once we get these opened up, there should not be any duplication issues. Hopefully. We'll see how this goes. Come on, come on. I'm pretty hopeful because we've disconnected it from the original. So that should, and it has prevented that duplication error. So literally, oh, but it's killed off all the nodes that would be required. Oh, that's tricky. So I need to disconnect the material itself from the node, and that would also fix it. That is interesting. I bet that would do it. Okay, so let's go ahead and take blah, blah, blah. I think it was these 3. I'll just right-click, remove unused materials. Yeah, that did it. Open this up, open node editor. Yeah, it was multiply into roughness, this one into specular, and you into normal. Now, I wonder, but we're getting closer. Yes, NC, that's too true. We are getting closer. I'm willing to bet. I am so interested, actually, in taking a blend material. Taking this blend material and just setting it to 2 inputs. And setting you here to input 1. I almost wonder if this is going to work. So I'll run, oh, I run it into mount. What am I saying? And for input 1, we're going to add a material. And this material for input 1 is going to be our metallic part. That could work. Just hold them in place. Yep, yeah, I'm thinking that. Yeah, I'd have to make sure I get the placements correct. So then if I run this node into specular, yeah, and this all comes together, so that's good. Yeah, and then I'll run the multiply into roughness. And then if I run this normal into this normal, I almost wonder, that could work, just hold them in place like a dummy node. Yep, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And then actually what I'm really wondering is if I can run all of these. I almost wonder, okay, so we got that to there. I think it's safe to delete this one now. Whoops, what did I take with it? I took the multiply with it. I don't want to take the multiply. So unplug, unplug, now select, now delete. Yeah, and that's good. Why did it delete those nodes? Oh, because it's part of them. Okay. Yeah, so we got our fall off, our specular. We have this one. I'll just leave this here for now until we can separate them later. Next up, we need a material 2, and I also need to make sure I have the index value. So what do we have? An index of 1. So I need to go through here, set base, set this to a glossy, set this one to an index of also 1. Make sure I copy everything. Diffuse color should be pure black, totally reliant on whatever that float that is pumped into it. Oh, wait. Yeah, it should be pure black. So there should be no diffuse color pumping in through here. Specular should be 100% pure. Specular, 100% pure. Yeah, we got all that. Roughness, anistrophic, sheen. Okay, sheen should be 0.2. And if I go up here, uh-oh, there is no sheen. Oh, no, there is. What am I saying? 0.2. Very good, very good. That is good. That is good. That is good. Okay, what's the BRDF model? Octane. What's the BRDF model on this? Octane, glossy. Excellent, excellent. Everything should line up. And if I connect this correctly, and if I do it correctly, so we'll name this one. I don't think anyone's done this yet. Metallic part. Yeah, I'll just call this metallic part. And then literally, I just need to make the dielectric part, and then if I make material 2 and material, I haven't messed around with the Uber shader or blend material too much, so I hope this works. But if I literally take the diffuse port here, and that's going to be, I'll pull this down. Hey, why don't I just do this? This will make it a whole lot easier. Connect you into diffuse, connect you into specular, select you into normal, and select roughness into roughness. Boy, that was a whole lot easier. Why didn't I do that to begin with? Our diffuse color should be pure 95%. What's our diffuse color on here? Color by that. Okay, good. Specular, full 1. Oh, what's our index? Also 1. So that's important that our index is correct. Set index to 1. I'm thinking this is going to work. I'm really feeling pretty confident, actually. So, yeah, we got this. We have our amount driven by that. Everything should run. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down. This should be my Uber material right here. Octane blend material. It has everything we need inside of it. It's all set up. It's all good to go. Fingers crossed. Let's start organizing this a little. Bring this down, bring this down. And if, in theory, this works, this should all save and pull out is a perfect connection of nodes. So this blend material is going to save out, and they'll all be just 4 nodes, all connected within each other, and everything should, in theory, just work. But we'll see how this goes. So everything, first off though, before I get too far ahead of myself, is I need to slap this material on top of my base plate, and fingers crossed, hope it actually renders correctly, because if it doesn't, that means I broke something. I don't think I did. Everything should be matched. And it does. Excellent. Okay. Perfect. Very happy with that. I think everything worked well. But I don't know, actually. I'm not too thrilled with that. What was this one? Was it this one I was putting on? I think that's the top, actually. Oops. Wrong one. Base 1. So there's a few parameters that are off. Good point. Phew. Yeah, a lot of stuff we're throwing on right here. Base. Oh, did I break base 1? Whoops. I did break base 1. Oh my goodness, that was my bad. Quick fix. We're going to select our Uber. We're going to Control C. We're going to go to File. Revert to saved. Are you sure you want to revert to saved? Yes, I do. It's going to revert me back to my save. Go back in here. Paste back in my new material. Come on, there it goes. Whew, I was hoping that would work. Please make some complex material tut like this. Allie, absolutely. I totally want to make a tutorial out on building stuff like this. And I actually cover this in the Octane Master Course. I go over all the material basics, all the way up to much more advanced techniques with materials. So I talk about a lot of stuff like that. Now, I want to see how are these going to differentiate from each other. Boom. Okay. Problem. Why is this rendering like this? Oh, because all those nodes just disappeared. That's why. What the heck? Okay, that will do it. Okay, that makes sense. The nodes have to be manually created. I can't do this halfway botched job of like stealing them from the other node. That makes sense. Boy. This is a really good idea, though. I feel like if I can save these in this, I could come up with a new system that I could put back out on the LiveDB, and this could come up with a great workflow that would connect Substance Painter with Octane so well. I just would have to get these nodes. It's all one material. That's what I love about the Uber shader. This will be one material. You just slap on it, and it'll work. It'll just work and have no problems. That said, what could I do to bring this over? You know what I can do, actually? I'm going to open this up. I'm going to go ahead and copy these nodes. I'm going to just copy. See, how do I copy these? I can copy them like this. Do Control C, and then we'll close this down, and then we'll open up our Uber shader, and we'll dump all these, and I should be able to do Control V. Come on. Maybe. It was a great college try. Thanks for giving it a whirl. No problem. I am going to get this working, though. I feel pretty confident in that. I really feel like I can do this. Like, I usually get like stuck on things like that, but I really feel like this has some huge potential. This is something I've been wanting to do, actually, for quite some time. So I'm really glad you guys pointed that out, because this is something I've been thinking about trying for quite a bit. So literally, I have both materials set up correctly. I just need to literally go through and start replicating that node setup. Oh, question from Ollie. Yep, yeah, go ahead, fire away. Yep, definitely open to any questions. I'm thinking if I hop in here, can I just copy, like say, just do Control C, hop over here, Control V. Yes, it did work. Okay, this isn't going to be as hard as I thought it would be. I think we have a chance. If I can just manipulate each individual branch one at a time, I really feel like we got some potential in this. So let's go ahead and just start with this first branch. And we'll say, okay, let's start with something simple. Just a diffuse material comboed with these guys right here, and we'll just combo that with this one right here. Do Control C, hop over to the Uber, Control V, hallelujah, it actually worked. Select these, select that, pull this over. And now, I think I plugged this into specular. I'm pretty certain it goes into specular. Let's check it out. Yes, it did. It did go to specular. Okay, first piece is done. Excellent. Can you drop 2 Ubermat to a mixed material? Oh my goodness, the real. That is a really good question. I never thought of that. You might be able to. I don't know. I've never tried that. Can you mix 2 Uber materials in a mixed material? Let's find out. Let's go ahead. We'll copy it. We'll go to materials. We'll create a mixed material. Where is it? Here we go. We'll open her up, and we'll stick this one into this one, and this one into this one. And let's click Node Editor, and it actually did it work? I think it did. Oh, wait a minute. No, it didn't. It kind of worked. It took the sub-material are still connected. What did it do? Oh, it literally duplicates. No, it did work. Yeah, because both of these are connected with the same. Yeah, so it did work. We literally duplicated both of these, and both of these have materials within them. Oh, yeah, it literally totally worked. Okay, so yes, you can do it. That is, I'm not sure why you would do that, because a blend material already gives you the option to create like a crud ton of mixes within itself. But you totally could if you wanted to mix 2 Ubers. You can mix 2 Ubers. So that is, or not Ubers. I keep calling them Uber material, the blend material. I actually kind of like calling it an Uber material. I don't know why they changed the name. But it can be done. That's pretty crazy. It means that if I make a complex material, I have always a fear of getting material disappear. Oh, yep. I've always had trouble with materials. Sometimes you're making complex ones and you're hopping back and forth. Sometimes they can disappear depending on the bugs. Now, you can prevent your material nodes from disappearing by following some simple steps. So a really big thing is, let me go ahead and delete the mix. Delete this one. A really great way to prevent these issues from happening is to always make sure that you don't pull a node out and then close it. Like if you set up a complex node structure, like say we just make up a bunch of nodes here, I'm just going to start plugging stuff in, a bunch of random things, plug this in, plug that, like say like that. Say we did all this, right? Say I plugged world coordinate and I wanted to plug that into transform. I don't think it'll let me actually. Let's just take a image texture node, plug world transform into that, and there we go. Say we got like a bunch of nodes here. If I don't plug these into a material and I close this, they'll be all gone. So a big thing is to make sure that every material you create has a purpose. So see how they all disappeared now? So every material that you create, make sure it has a purpose and a reason for being built, and you plug it directly into whatever you're going to make, and that can help really prevent that from happening. You can. I just did it for a beer label with a lot of gold and with a coating over them. Oh, nice. Makes it just more simple with the single mask. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Threal. For like just a simple mix of two materials, I always go for the mix. I mean, if you're trying to blend, I'm going to show you guys something a little crazy. Let's see. Where is it? It was a very fun daily render. I was really pushing myself on, this was before the mixed material was created. So keep that in mind. Nowadays, I would never create a material like this. I would not use the mixed material for that. This was before the blend material. So nowadays, I would totally use a blend material before I did that. But I believe it's this one. Nope, it's this one. This material right here, this little object, this is a potion of time, I call it. It looks kind of simple, really. There's not too much to it. Just a glass bottle with like little like multicolored liquid inside of it. But this was made up over this node system. So this is all made with I think 7 or 6 mixed materials, and the reason for that is because I had to basically start. Oh, that's the wrong node. Is it this one? Oh, no, I go to layer. Here it is. Here they all are. So this is material after material after material, all mixed down together. This is basically because I had to start with one material and mix that to the other. Now, the reason I had to do this is because I used texture emission inside of the glowing liquid here to make that emit light, and it did not support multicolor textures at the time. So basically, for me to have multicolors like this with this light here, I had to have the color set for the emission and transmission. I couldn't mix it like with a gradient or anything. It had to be its own thing. It had to be a pure raw color. And then I had to mix out with another pure raw color and another pure raw color. So I have a pure orange, a pure yellow, a pure red. So a perfect example is I took yellow and red, mixed them together, mixed together yellow, orange. Yeah, this was orange. It looks like yellow, but it's actually orange. Orange and purple? Yeah, orange and purple, mixed them together, and then took the mix of yellow and red with the mix of purple and orange and mixed them together. And then I had another set going off down here between these two, which comboed into blue and green, which I then mixed with the red, yellow, and purple orange, which in the end gives us this result. And then I comboed all of that on top of each other with the adjustment of a gradient to make sure each one doesn't overwrite the other. It was a little bit of a nightmare, but it got done. It was interesting. Oh, thank you, Ethereal. Yeah, it was a little insane. It was overkill. It was in the time. This is what I had to do. It was a mental nightmare. I'm not gonna lie. And mixing the gradient, getting the gradient's position and everything correct to match each material's mix, so they overlaid correctly, was really frustrating. I'm not gonna lie. It was extremely frustrating. It was so counterintuitive. But the good news is now we have all this can be done in this single blend material. So I literally could just pop this with how many shades did I need? What did I need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I literally could have just popped up, 6 inputs and then just blended them all into this one right here, which would have been a little bit easier. 3 respect. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. But thankfully, things have improved now. Not to mention, I'm pretty certain, a better way of doing this right now that would work is instead of using an RGB spectrum, I could use a gradient and then pump the gradient into the texture and then pump that same gradient into the transmission, and I just project the gradient. So I'd have literally just one gradient, one material. All of this could have been condensed down to that. But at the time, that wasn't working, or that didn't exist. So this was the workaround. But this is a perfect example of something that's heavily overcomplicated than what it needs to be now. Back then, this is kind of what it had to be, but nowadays, I don't think we have to do this anymore. Thankfully. So thankful, because I never want to have to do that again. I'm not going to lie. My head was literally killing me trying to go through that. But I'm really excited getting this Uber shader mixed up. But maybe I shouldn't be doing that on stream, because I did say that I would be finishing up the advertisement, so maybe I shouldn't be spending so much time doing this Uber shader. This Uber shader, really, I do want to get this running, though, because this would be so nice. This would be great for other users in a Substance workflow. That would be so sweet. Maybe I could just take this, pull this a little closer. Just kind of go through the little rundown, get these a little closer. While we're doing this, might as well go to edit toggle snapping, so I can just snap everything together, get everything nice and organized. So we'll pull this up like this. Okay, we'll go down. Let's shrink. Take this down. Very good. Let's go back over to our mix. Okay, now we did this. So now we need to grab, let's find another connection set. So we need multiply. It's going to go into roughness. Grab our image texture that's in charge of that. We'll take the same transform so I can bring him over. And what else? You go into roughness on him. I think, we also have all those. Okay, that's getting a little more complex. We'll just take multiply and transform with the roughness. Yeah, I'm thinking, wait a minute. These are two multiplies that are duplicated going into the same spot. They both do the same thing. There's no reason whatsoever that this needs to be like that. Why couldn't I just do this? Have one go into two. That totally makes so much more sense. Why would it be doing that? So yeah, we'll just copy these two nodes, literally, hop over here, paste this in, and yeah, this will go into the roughness on both of them. And that is a heck of a lot simpler. So I'm a big fan at condensing things down as much as possible. We'll take the transform node, plug that into transform, and now both of these are transformed by one node, which will make things a lot nicer. I think I can pull that down a little bit. There we go. A little easier to grab it. Next up, what are we going to go over for next? So now we got specular. We have roughness done. Next up, let's get this whole lineup of nodes. And what runs into here is also our roughness, I believe. Yeah. So roughness is also going to pump into here. So I'm going to go to Control C. We're going to hop over here. I'm going to do Control V, pump these in, and then we'll take our roughness and we'll pump this into the invert. And then these plug into specular, right? Pretty sure it was specular. Let's check it out. Multiply goes into specular. Multiply goes into specular for the bottom. This top one, what's the top one called? Let's just copy the name over. We'll go over here, basic, we'll call it metallic part. And we'll go over here. And I can't take too much credit from this. I really want to point this out. This material was not made by me. Somebody else uploaded this and did all this. So I'm just stealing his work. So don't think this concept, this node structure, was not developed by me. It was developed by somebody else who was really smart and set all this up and did all these calculations to make Substance Painter work with Octane Render in the best possible way. I'm just simply condensing this down into a simpler, easier to use system. So I just want to make sure that's open. Will this live be saved and uploaded in your channel? Ask Icola1. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Absolutely. All my videos are set to be saved. So, yep, this will totally be saved. You'll be able to scrub through, rewatch, and do all that. Subscribe to Applications. I highly suggest you consider his Octane Master Course. Nobody has yet to bundle everything you need to know about Octane in one course. Money well spent. Thank you so much, NC. I really appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate that. Where was I? something over here. Oh, I think we're about done actually. I just need to copy my normal map. Yeah, the normal map just gets copied over normally. There's no pun intended. That just literally will just copy over. We'll plug normal into normal. I'm really hoping this works, because if I can get this working, I want to put this in the course when I teach the Substance Painter workflow, and I'm just going to have this Uber material available to download for you guys, because that will freaking make things so much easier. So close. I plan on doing it as well. Awesome. Thank you both so much. Especially thank you so much to NC and Bitapon. Thank you guys so much. Like, I will be so happy to have all three of you in the Octane Master Course family. Like, and two, it comes with live support. So if you guys have any trouble while learning Octane Render, feel free. You get access to the Octane Master Course Discord. Feel free to hit me up, and I'll be all too happy to help you out with that. Is your course from basic to advanced? Asked Ali. Absolutely. The course is designed in a structured format. So it's designed to be able to jump right in and go directly to the video you're after. Like, say you're an advanced user and you're just like, oh, I know what I'm after. I want to learn about this node. Dive right in. But at the same time, every video only assumes you know what was taught in the videos before. It never is going to assume that if you're learning about the diffuse material and the specular materials taught afterward, I'm not going to assume you know how to use the specular material. And it looks like our page is having a little bit of trouble. But don't worry, I'm sure they'll get that worked out. There we go. It's back up now. So everything is going to expand and grow through what you've learned in there. So for example, as we scroll down, if you use the diffuse material, it's not going to assume you know the specular material. So it's going to go through in a structured format. It works you from the ground up. Say you've never downloaded Octane before in your life. I do an overview, what is Octane, or an overview of the course really. Then I do, what is Octane Render? Why should you buy it? What benefit does Octane have? Why would you want to consider purchasing this? And then I even teach how to download and install it and purchase it for the first time, how to set up your first Octane layout, introduction to the interface, the live viewer, etc., etc. I walk you in from completely, you've never even heard of Octane Render in your life before, to now you have it, and work you all the way through 90 videos. It's going to continually grow till it's that's a very clever structure. Thank you, Thuriel. I really appreciate that. I really wanted to make sure that the course was something that was easy for people to follow. I had a lot of people that wanted me to divide it up, but I couldn't figure out, like, say, we'll just make a beginner course and then make an advanced course. I just could not figure out or bring myself to separate these techniques, because some things I felt were super simple and easy to do, but at the same time they gave results that felt very powerful, like an advanced user would want to use them. So in the end, I opted to combine everything into what I called the Master Course, because it is the be-all, end-all companion teaching, basically Octane set of tutorials that are for everybody. If you're an advanced user, dive in, go into exactly what you're after, or jump in. Say you're not an advanced user, but you're a decently skilled user. Say you're like, I've already gotten a pretty good hold of, say, texturing or lighting. Well, go ahead, skip right down to the node section and just learn about them. I'm already going to assume you already have all those other parts learned. So you can go ahead and jump into the part that you feel like you're to, and then you can just start learning from that section there forward. And that said, if you're a new person, again, you just hop in, start in the beginning. I wanted to kind of structure it almost like a college course. Like, you could just go in, start with 1, 2, 3, and I just keep building and building, slowly adding more and more and more, which I had a student who was new to Octane Render. Her name was... Oh, this is YouTube testimonials. I have a comment. Here it is, testimonials. Michelle Fleming. She has a really nice thing that she said here when she was going through it. I've managed to find time to get through about half of the first chapter of the course. So far, I give the course a 5-star rating. You are a great teacher. I'm new to Octane, and it feels like you are giving just enough information in each segment for me to learn new ideas, but not so much that I feel overwhelmed. This was a comment that really touched me, because this was exactly what I was after when I was making the course. I wanted to try and teach the course for people so it was simple to start and then slowly build higher and higher. I didn't want something that was going to overwhelm you. So in the beginning, the overview section, I very lightly mentioned new topics. I lightly mentioned the materials and the node editor and slowly build and then expand and kind of just add more and more content until you get to basically the end where you are literally a master. Or is what I call it. I mean, some people say you can't be a master until it's your forte or you have 10,000 hours. But you have the educational level of a master. That's what I call it. I call it this level of knowledge. You're basically up to the point where I'm at. And I've been using Octane for about 3 years almost. I feel like I'm doing pretty good. I don't know if I'd call myself a master, but I feel like I have a really good understanding of Octane and have a really solid set of information on here. So you can really get yourself very well acquainted with Octane. And even if you are an expert or master in Octane, I have so many different quick tips and stuff in here that can really help you out and boost your workflow. Especially different workflows like I've come up with, like using the X particles emitter or turbulence FD with Octane. These are definitely advanced videos that I think anybody could find some benefits from here. I do know that perfect example, David Andrew he does some stuff with iDesign. He is a super great guy, super nice, and I would call him an Octane master, right? I think we all can agree that David Andrew is pretty freaking good at what he does, right? Like he's an Octane master, and he actually found something helpful from some of my videos, like not from the course. I haven't heard back from him yet on that, but from my YouTube videos, the projecting a light with Octane Render, the little light projection thing. He actually found. He's told me, put me in one of his YouTube videos. He said he found it very helpful in my subsurface scattering techniques for lighting and stuff were very helpful for him and helpful. So even somebody like David Andrew that's like a master at Octane still was able to pull something from some of the stuff I know. So everybody always has some more to learn, and I've learned so much from David Andrew. We're all learning. We all have different things to pull. So it's amazing how like just the community in general can just share ideas and everybody just kind of helps everybody grow together. Like it's really nice. It's pretty cool how that all works. I agree. David is really good. There's a lot to be said about using it in a practical photoreal sense. Totally agree with you, NC. He's pretty cool. He's actually attending the Octane Master Course. I ended up contacting him. He was super nice. He actually ended up joining. So I haven't gotten back to him yet. I'm really interested in seeing his opinion on it, but so far I don't know how far he's gotten through it. But I do know he is actually in the course, and he's given it a look. So so far his initial impression seemed promising. So it'd be really cool to see what he has to say about that. I've liked your videos because you're more photoreal looking, not so abstract. Oh, thank you, NC. I have always been more drawn to photorealistic. For some reason, I do like abstract and I dabble with it a little bit, but for some reason, I like to make things look photoreal, and that's because I got into 3D from kind of a film background. I did video editing and After Effects, and I like to make realistic looking shots. And I ended up moving to 3D because I wanted to composite stuff into the real world and like have more control. And eventually that expanded and expanded to the point where all I wanted to do is I'll just build my world in 3D and do my stuff that way. So that started me down this photorealistic path more so that way. But that's probably one of the reasons why I prefer more photorealistic type renders. That's why I kind of push that way. That said, with Octane 2, it makes it so easy to make a photoreal that I think that tends to push me that way too. Whereas when I was rendering with Cinema 4D, I liked photoreal and I wanted it, but it was hard to get it. It was really tricky to get some photoreal looking results. You can do it, and I've gotten a lot better with that. But Octane just makes it so much easier to get photoreal that it kind of feeds that passion in me to want to make photoreal renders. It just makes it so much easier. So I do tend to do them a lot more in Octane. But at this point, it's been 2.5 hours for the stream, and I totally want to hang around longer. I'm going to finish this material up. It's not going to take too long. I'll put a video out on this. Well, not so easy. I picked up So much today alone on how much stuff looks more like photoreal. Oh, thank you so much, NC. Yeah, I will admit in the beginning it's not so easy to always achieve photoreal. Maybe I worded that kind of wrong. It's not always so easy. It's easier, I feel, in Octane, but it's definitely not easy. But once you learn the steps and techniques, like kind of like a process, I'm a process builder. Once you get the process down for different things like subsurface scattering or different index refractions or substance painter, it just makes things so much easier. John, I'm so glad you spent the afternoon with us. You got hit with a ton of curveballs. Oh no, I'm happy I spent the afternoon with you too, guys. Like I love answering questions, and feel free to throw as many curveballs as you guys want because I love answering questions and just messing around with different things. Like I don't mind at all. Like if right now we're off in originally we were putting down mushrooms, but now we're off here making rearranging this substance painter workflow in these in the node editor here on my lantern. So we did kind of bounce around. I think we really did cover a lot of topics in this stream, which wasn't intended. I might have to change the name of it, but it's kind of how I work. I do jump around a lot, and I do go off on a lot of rants. So I thank you guys for kind of hanging in with me when I'm talking on all my different topics and stuff. But thank you guys so much for watching. The stream has turned out really good. We had a good, consistent 15 viewers, I think, throughout this. Question, John, did you set up a Discord channel for the video? Yes, I do have a Discord channel for the Octane Master Course. Anybody who joins the Octane Master Course gets access to the Octane Master Course Discord channel. But let's see if this will pop up here. That's the only Discord channel I have at the moment. So I don't think yep, that's what I mean. Nice. Huh, I'm here from the Slack. Oh, nice. Welcome through nice Thrio. Glad to have you here from the Slack. I love the Slack channel too. That's another great place to be. But this is here. This is the Octane Master Course Discord, and we have a few users already joining. This is a live stream. I kind of linked it there. We have a tutorial vote section, so you can actually vote what topics you want next. It's very clear that the community is pushing. They want X particles with Octane training, so that over everything else at the moment. Now, that doesn't mean I'm skipping this. I'm just making this first and then working my way down the line. Next up, I'll focus probably on beauty passes. I've already taught this, but it's like a specific thing just about the beauty pass, so it's something that people can jump into a little quicker. So I'm going to be making more videos for the course that aren't based off of just, has this been taught before? But I'll be adding quick tips and stuff to the course that are just more designed for people that like, I just joined and I need to know this now. I want to learn this quicker. So that should make things nice. Outstanding. That's great. Even better. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, NC. Yeah, I love when I had the idea for the tutorial vote, I thought that would be a cool thing. I have a bug report section. So the course, I really want it to expand and grow. I want it to get better and better. I want it to be a place that people are happy that they're a part of. So for the bug report section, if you have a problem with the course, a bug or something's naming correctly, or a video is inaccurate on something, or just any issue at all you bump into, definitely let me know in the bug reports or message me, and I'll get on to fixing that. Like, I think it was Ben Weaver mentioned to me on the stream, or not on a stream, he had a problem with the course where I didn't have any starter scene file. Like he did, like every course video I start, I usually say, here's a simple scene, here's how I made it. And I kind of just figured, well, I guess it'll take like maybe a minute, and they'll just kind of copy what I did and make it in their own scene. But he mentioned it would be nice if I could have, even though it's only a minute to make, it would be nice if I just had a starter scene file already pre-made. It would be nice if you could do that. And I was like, hey, that's a good idea. I never thought about that. So I went and made that starter scene file, rechanged the asset file section, and boom, now everybody has a starter scene file that they can download. So again, it's all about expanding, growing, and adapting it. What do the users want? And adding to it. Because my goal with the Octane Master Course is I really want the education of Octane to be out there and available for everybody in a simple, easy-to-grab package. You get the course and you're set. You don't have to worry about rummaging through a whole bunch of other sites trying to figure out how to get this to work or how to get that to work. Like, it's just all located in one easy to find location. And let me just say, the program I'm using to teach the course on is a website called Podia, and I am so dang happy that I went with them. If anybody else here is teaching any courses at any point, Podia is just so nice. The layout, this website setup, everybody has an account within my own platforms. You're not making an account on some like other website. They're not through Podia or anything. Like, it's all my own website, my own encryption. It's all safe. It's your account and everything. All for viewing it is all within the Epic J Creations Octane Master Course site. It's all located in there, and that same account can be used for accessing other products that I'll be launching soon. But the biggest thing that I love the most is that the video layout system is so dang good. Like, I'm so impressed. Like, if I hit play here, I'm going to mute this real quick. But you literally have access to, like, scrub through it's just like YouTube, basically. You can full screen it, tap the arrow keys to skip, go forward, backwards. You can increase the speed. I do know that a few users have asked me saying I need to be able to watch this at, say, 2 times speed. You totally have that. You can double the speed. 1 times, do half speed. You have full quality control, leave it at auto or manually set to whatever you want. Change your audio volume. You have all that there. Right now, I'm still working on it, but you can add. I have descriptions at the bottom of each video. I'm going to add and expand onto that as well. Oh, Allie has a question. Feel free, ask away. Definitely, I'm open for any questions. And you can totally expand and just kind of go through the whole list here. Say, well, I'm interested in the overview section only. Just click overview, and it'll automatically filter everything out just to preview the overview. It's going to give you the name of each video and its length right there. And you say, okay, I am totally down for what is Octane Render. Now, right now, I'm not logged in, so we're just seeing the preview of the free stuff. You have to actually buy the course to get access. I could log in and show you guys what that looks like, though, if you want. To show what it looks like once you actually buy it. I've heard that Octane has problems with SLI. That is a very good question, Ollie, actually. I have an article that actually talks about that on my blog, on my website. Common SLI misunderstanding. Basically, Octane doesn't really have problems with SLI. The problem is that Octane doesn't use SLI. See, now, SLI is a common misunderstanding, is that SLI is designed to link graphic cards together. SLI is for games only. So, like, if I'm playing, like, a game, like, say I'm playing, I'm totally blanking, say Overwatch or Fortnite, I can link 2 graphic cards together, and then those graphic cards can then basically share their processing power and share the VRAM used for running one game with another. So, like, say I'm using Fortnite and I'm loading in my map. Now I'm going to split that map into half. So half of it goes into one card, half of it goes into the other, and it basically duplicates it. So it's not really splitting the map. It's just putting the map into one and putting the map also in the other. And it basically, like a bit upon is saying, it bridges 2 cards and it works for the game. Now, Octane does not have to have that. Octane is completely different. When you plug Octane into your computer, it simply takes whatever's in your scene and puts it into both cards. You don't have to have them both be bridged together to run the game. And SLI is not actually something I'm very happy with. It has very bad performance at the moment. In most games, a perfect example is I had 2 760s way back, and they were SLI'd together. So you basically we paid double to get 2 cards. If I had both cards SLI'd together, it would give me only about an extra 3 to 5 FPS in game. Whereas if they weren't SLI'd, I lost about 3 FPS. So I got 2 cards instead of 1 for a very small increase in performance. If you have one GTX 560, another side have a GTX 1, it will ultralize. Both of them, VRAM, are ultralized. Yes, that's what's a great thing, is SLI is limited to the same type of cards. You have to have 2 of the same cards. But since Octane does not use SLI, you can put any GTX card you want with any combination. You could stuff in a $10,000 Quadro and then a GTX 560 or like a really cheap, say like a really cheap 300 series $50 card, and they'll both go together. Now, here's the problem. The VRAM will not add up. Your VRAM is going to be limited to whatever the weakest card is. Say I have two graphic cards. I have a Quadro with, say, like 20 gigs of VRAM. But I also have a 970. The 970 only has 4 gigs of VRAM. My Quadro is going to have to be limited to only 4 gigs of storage so my scene can fit in both cards. Now, that is how it currently is right now. Things are changing, though. Later on in the future, what you're going to be able to do is you're actually going to be able to have cards actually add the VRAM together. Now, I'm not sure what the limitation on that is going to be. It might be only for RTX cards, etc., etc. The good news is, though, is like NC was saying, is that the new version of Octane is going to support having you use your own computer RAM, like your actual system RAM, not the VRAM in your graphic card. You'll actually be able to split that with and share the load with your actual VRAM, or not the VRAM, your actual system RAM on your computer. Not to mention, you'll actually be able to cache some of that RAM onto your hard drive. So if you don't have enough VRAM on your graphic card, you can actually cache it onto hard drive or have virtual memory. Again, this is not out yet officially. It is out in the beta version of Octane, and if you get Octane standalone, but it's not out yet on Octane and Cinema 4D, so that is coming. But right now, you cannot add the VRAM together. That is something that is going to come later on. So that was a big question that XOWZYX6 asked. I'm afraid that is not going to happen until a little bit later. If you took the GTX 560 out of your system, your Octane render would be faster. It's not really helping. It's hindering your renders. Try to disable it. You'll see. Yeah, it probably could be slowing your renders down a little bit. It depends. The big thing is your 560 will be heavily limiting the VRAM. Now, this said, you don't have to take it out of the system to prevent it from slowing your system down either. What you could do, and this is what a lot of users do, is you could keep that 560, and you could have, if you go to your Octane settings and go to settings here, let's pretend that my 980 Ti is Ali's 1070. We're going to keep this checked on. Let's pretend that this 970 is her 560. What I'm going to do is I'm going to uncheck available GPUs. Now I'm only going to be using my 980 Ti, and that means I leave this GPU free to run the interface of Octane, or Octane and Cinema 4D. So I can pan around, look at the lantern, do all this, have my actual monitor and other applications be handled on that GPU, while this one is full throttle doing that. Just make sure your monitor is plugged in to this one right here. Yes, just disable it. Oh, yep, that's what NC meant, to disable it. So that is a great option there. That is going to be the big problem, is you are limiting your VRAM quite heavily, because I do know that the 1070 has got like 8 gigs of VRAM, and I'm pretty sure a 560 only has about 2 or 1 gig. So that would limit your scene pretty heavily. That said, speeding up renders, fitting more stuff into VRAM is possible if you take something called parallel samples. This is a big thing. I'm going to pop this on really quick. Let me just load. I'm not going to put that on yet. Big thing is, when you're loading your scene in, don't do any material changes and force a reload until after the scene's loaded in. That'll keep Octane from freezing up. So now what we have here, this is interesting. Used free total VRAM. Right now I'm using 2.361 gigs of VRAM out of the 6 gigs available. Technically I could use. This is only because I have a 980 Ti and I have disabled the other card. I'm actually going to re-enable him. So I'm going to turn him back on. He's going to load into VRAM in a second. We'll reload these back in. There we go. Now we're limited to 4 gigs. So we got that fixed. What we can do is we can use something called parallel samples. This is pretty cool. If I take parallel samples and drag it to 1, watch what we can do right here. We've now dropped our 2.5 gig scene down to 2.1 gigs. So we've actually reduced the VRAM usage of our scene, giving us the ability to shove more geometry into our scene. The drawback of this is that by lowering our parallel samples down, it's going to increase our render time, so our sample rate is going to be slower. So here is our mega samples a second. We're getting about 10, and if I up my parallel samples back to, say, 8, we're going to probably get an increase on that. I might have to refresh our render. Let's go ahead and refresh. See if we get an increase in speed at all. We might, as soon as it loads in. Right now we're getting like 298. So there we go. We're getting about the same speed, 12 mega samples a second. Okay, so we lost about 2. So again, this can help it. Now, if the opposite happens, say you have a surplus of VRAM space, what happens if we crank this up to 16? We are going to drastically increase our VRAM usage by a lot. I'm going to reload this into our scene. So what were, like 2.5 gigs of VRAM used or something? Yeah, 2.5. So now we're up to like 2.6. So we've increased our VRAM usage quite a bit, and we were down to 2.1. So we've almost used an additional gig to hold this, but our speed is now 14 megasamples a second. So we've gone from 10 megasamples a second now to 14 for free. We're not running our cards faster. We're not running them harder. I don't have more graphic cards in my system at all. I'm simply using more VRAM to compute more stuff at one time. It is freaking awesome. It's really powerful. That's how I run my Quadro and use my one time. Oh, nice. That's a good way to do it, NC. What is the procedure of software means I just have to install a GTX 170 software driver? Oh, yeah. That's important, Ollie, to make sure that you do have the software drivers all updated for your graphic cards. Make sure of that. OMG, I didn't know you could do that. That's awesome, says NC. Oh, well, glad you found that helpful. It was a mind-blowing experience when I first bumped into that, let me tell you. I had no clue what parallel samples was until I ended up bumping into it, and that's a big one. I have a bunch of tips like that in one of the videos here. Where is it? It was on the Octane Master Course at the in the advanced section of the course, I should say. I have a really cool section. Whoops, I need to get my mouse fixed. The middle button's broke on it. I have a really cool removing fireflies. It's this video here. I actually talk about for like 28 minutes straight. Basically, and that's kind of a bad name for it. I should probably change it. It's about how to remove those little hot pixels, fireflies, and stuff. And I also basically this video talks about cleaning up noise, removing fireflies, and part of that is just flat out telling you how to render faster. So that video spends 28 minutes telling you all the stuff on how to get your rendering as fast as possible and as clean as possible. I should probably rechange the name of it. Rendering faster and cleaner. I should probably rename it something like that. That would probably be a better name. I should rename it to something like that. But literally, I just spent 28 minutes going through and talking about all of that. Or I might make a new video, actually. Path turn power is another great thing. Coherent ratio. Tons of stuff. Wow, good to know. I have lots of free VRAM. Oh, nice, the real. Great. Glad that is going to be a total benefit for you then, cranking your parallel samples up, because that will totally increase your render speed. Now, again, you can do the opposite. If you pull this down to 1, it's going to hinder your render speed, but you can pack more stuff into your scene. So, again, you're going to want to kind of balance that out. Right now, I just gave myself about a gig of space, but I'm only rendering at 9 megasamples a second. So it does have its drawbacks. You want to kind of use this with balance. In this particular case, I have plenty of room, so I'm just going to go ahead and ram this all the way up to full 16 parallel samples, and we're going to go ahead and render this at a much faster pace. In some tests I did, I was actually able to receive 50%, up to 50% faster rendering, believe it or not, by maxing out my parallel samples. Now, it's not going to be this way in every case, but in some cases, I was actually able to get a lot better results by turning parallel samples up to 16, suppose the default. That was pretty sweet. So, I mean, in this case, we went from 10 to 14, so I guess that's like a 40% increase in speed? Yeah, 40%. Yeah, 40%, I'm pretty sure that is. So that's pretty dang quick right there. So in this case, we're already getting a pretty good example of speed improvements. That is always nice. 2 GTX 1070s or GTX 1080 Ti? Oh, that's a very good question. Which one will you prefer? Oh, 2 GTX 1070s is going to beat a 1080 Ti. That said, it would be cheaper to buy the 1080 Ti. So, or just one 1080 Ti versus the two 1070s. It all depends on what your system can fit. So, if your system, where is, yeah, so do Octane benchmark. Yeah, you'll get way more CUDA cores, way more power with two 1070s than a 1080 Ti. So you'll definitely have way better performance out of those. That said, I'm not sure what the best bang for your buck would be. Yeah, count the number of CUDA cores. That would be the best way. I mean, I do know that two 1080 Ti's is going to be way better than two 1070s. But that said, what would the best bang for the buck be? So we're looking at 185 score on a 1080 Ti, and a 1070 is 133. So 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. So you're looking at 50 points more for what price? If you have a decent CPU for it, yeah, you have to have, it doesn't have to be a crazy good CPU, but you do want something a little decent. Like for me, I have a AMD 1700X. So I got 8 cores, 16 threads, so it does the job pretty decently. But yeah, I would definitely say, so what if you had two 1070, wait, is this a 1070 Ti? Oh, whoops, read that wrong. Oh, 1070 is only 117. So what, like 200? Boy, that is close. So what, we're looking at 230 something. So 80, 90, 100. Boy. That's true. You'll be able to add another 1080 Ti in 2 months for the same price as a 1070. That's a really good point, NC. Boy, I would actually, personally, Octane doesn't ultralize CPU, right? Only GPU as far as I know. You don't really need a high-end processor. Yeah, Bitapon, that is absolutely correct. Octane does not do any rendering with the CPU at all. It's only GPU. Now, there is a slight catch. When you click the Send to Scene button, when I click this and it has to load into the VRAM, your CPU has to do the load. Now, it's not that much work, really, and it's not that much loading work, but just realize the faster CPU you have, the faster it's going to load that in there. Does the RTX ray tracing technology, will that have impact on rendering? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So far, some people are saying that we're getting a 10 to 15% improvement, so it'll definitely improve on that. I'm pretty sure. But thank you guys so much for watching the stream. It's actually almost been 3 hours in now. So I'm about to lose my voice, I think. So I get off and take a little bit of break. I need to get a drink of water. But thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And I'm going to set up a streaming schedule. I want to do this more often. I'm probably not going to be able to do 3 hours straight, probably about an hour a day at most. But I'm going to try and get something figured out and get something going. Aiden Fox, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. Good night, and thank you for your time. Well, thank you for your time too, Bitapon. Really appreciate it. And you too, Allie. Thank you. Thank you, John. That was awesome. I'm so glad I got it. I got alerted. Oh, no problem. Glad to have you here. And thanks, man, says Allie. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Thriel. I appreciate it too. Really, really appreciate it. Oh, don't worry. I will not delete this stream. It's going to be saved. Every stream is saved on my channel. It should be archived, or not archived, but it'll be saved, and everything that's been streamed is going to be saved to my YouTube channel for reviews. You don't have to worry about that. See you on the GSG Connect. Sweet, sounds good. NC, I'll see you there. And Mr. Charles, see you. Thank you for joining, Mr. Charles. Glad to have you here. But thanks again, everybody. Really appreciate for you all joining and hanging out. I can't wait to see you all till later. So thanks again, everybody, and I'll see you all next time.